everyone, welcome to Nightcap Season 2. It's me, Maria. Hello again. I am surrounded today by some of the most amazing people that I have the privilege of knowing. Hello everyone. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Look at them all. We have the dichotomy of fire and rain, aka heat and moisture. And also we have the other side of the conglomerate. We have the beautiful, fair, and the lovely and loud Duval. We have, of course, we also have Sin and Prince, aka Amir. Like we have all of them. They're all here, everyone. I can't escape. I wish you could see this video call is just me in the middle, surrounded by all
Amazing.
of them, and it's very good for me. So I've said your names. Some people out there you may recognize some of these faces, but I would love for you all to introduce yourselves for the folks who might not know who you are or why in the world you might be here. You're here because I love you all. But let's start with Fair. Fair, who are you, and what are some stuff that you do?
Hi, I'm Fair, known as Fair Bear in some spaces. I am a TTRPG performer, and I don't know why I'm here.
Great, good. None of us do.
I'm here because I invited myself, and I just showed up.
Perfect. Listen, is it a brand? Yes. Is it on brand?
Yes.
Absolutely, 100%.
No, but I'm a performer. I'm on Rolling D's 20s, Philly by Night. I'm on Ampistrano over on D&D Jordan Lee's channel. North by Northquest. Other stuff that had probably at this point still haven't been announced yet. Not sure. Time is soup, and also having people announcing things. It's when. Just tell me, please. Just tell me
when I can scream about this from the rooftops. Yes, I understand that.
I'm tired of keeping secrets from my friends.
Beautiful, wonderful, amazing.
And my pronouns are she/her.
Wonderful, fantastic. I'm gonna go to this other side of the Zoom call. Sin, hello.
Hello, morsels.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Sin of the he and they pronoun. So you will find me most of the time either streaming games on Twitch or various kinds, mostly Metroidvanias and RPGs, or playing in games like Ampistrano with Fair, where we are both very impulsive and our impulse control is missing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is airing in October, but we're recording in August, and our episode today is going to be very interesting. Because the two people who understand magic and are also the impulse control of the group are not here today.
Good.
And you have a festival to go to. Perfect.
Chaos reigns supreme.
Excellent. Mayhem. Wonderful. Duval.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Lick, Duval King Jacob on the Twitters and the Instas and all over the place. And doing a lot on the internets, which is really, really cool. Co-founder of the Amphitheater, where our new D&D campaign, Fields of Wonder, Tal'Dorei campaign, is going to be, by this point, live and in the middle of it, which is really ridiculous. But I'm also the Dungeon Master for Duval and Dragons over on So Many Games Twitch channel, and play video games, and I'm in Fables with Prince, and I'm in Outcast and Outclass with Maria, and we got Blood In, Blood Out, our Blaze in the Dark campaign, and Dragons of Rebirth for Dragonlance, and video games, and all this cool shit, and life is awesome. Let's go.
Good. That's the energy. That's it right there. And of course,
The coffee's working.
Excellent, great. Of course, Prince.
Oh, hi, I'm Amir, Prince Hamza, also known as Dimples and Dice, also known as the Moist Heat. My pronouns are he, him. I am a TTRPG performer, professional dungeon master, game master, whatever, co-founder of Rolling These 20s. I'm a storyteller over there for Vampire the Masquerade Philly by Night, and whatever comes next after we finish this season up, which it should be just about wrapped by the time we get here.
So we'll talk about what's happening next. But I'm also on a bunch of stuff and things. Fables again with Duval. What else am I on? We're
North
gonna
by
have Good
Northwest?
Society coming up. North by Northwest. There's a lot of things that I'm involved in. Some unannounced things that I wish I could tell you, but I cannot. Like I'm so excited. I'm like, "Yeah," but I can't
It's
talk
like
about it.
it's honestly like the worst part
It is the
about
worst.
being in
The
this
NDA
space is
life
not being
is
able to just
brutal.
talk about
It's
it.
Bro.
rough.
And it's one of those things where it's like, did I actually sign an NDA? No, but it feels weird when like nobody else has said anything, so it's like I'm just gonna sit on my
I
hands. I
have
guess.
signed NDAs. Like
Oh,
some
I-
of it is like I can't talk about, and others like no, you can't talk
Cannot
about
talk
this.
about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Bible, you will get karate chopped to the throat if
So
you talk
I'm like,
about this.
Immediately, yeah.
danger zone. We're gonna
So
wait.
you
I'm not gonna
mean-
talk about anything.
Not the
Yeah.
security person from that one like movie, just putting a hand on the screen and dragging a mirror away.
I'm
right
just
after
going.
You're just gone. You're just out of here.
But yeah,
Fantastic. Like, okay, you may have heard everyone in all of these beautiful descriptions. You've heard me talk about myself far too much. But you've heard we all do lots and lots of TTRPG stuff. All of us. We're gonna get to that, but we're gonna get to something that I know we all love as well, which is food, because we love food. We're gonna start easy and light and delicious. Whether the food is light and delicious, I mean, hopefully. So I want to know because I grew up in a white/Puerto Rican household. I want to know, for y'all, what are some of your favorite foods? What's some favorite foods from when you were growing up? Do you have any cool stories, like childhood memories about food, or like recent memory? Like, tell me about food, y'all. Tell me about like food. Talk to me about your food. I would love to know about it.
I am happy to start this one. So my relationship to like favorite foods is complicated because my early memories happened because my mom and my biological dad separated before before I was even born. So I grew up with my stepdad, who was decidedly Jamaican. So all of my favorite foods are things like, please send me beef patties. The way that I am just like, bring me a beef patty, bring me a plate of like oxtail and anything else, please.
Oh my God.
The first thing that I do whenever I go back to my home state of New York is like Jamaican food. Like we're not doing anything else. It's Jamaican food and at least one slice of pizza. The end. I do not want to talk to anybody before that happens.
Sin, you and I are cut from the same cloth, okay? Because every time I go back to New York, I'm like, give me that fucking Jamaican patty. I don't hear nothing else until I have a Jamaican patty.
And
But
so
also, yeah.
being
go ahead.
and that makes being in the South stressful because trying to find beef patties in a college town is really hard.
Yeah.
And so the nearest place that they had was like an hour away and some change for like maybe one spot that it was like a 50-50 risk because she hadn't been there before. And it's kind of like, I'm about to spend like a whole bunch of money that I shouldn't spend on plane tickets, or now with things being the way they are, rental cars to make these trips because I need beef patties.
And just to be clear, beef patties very different from a hamburger patty.
Sure.
Just very
yes.
different.
Beef patty is
Yeah.
like a flaky pastry crust with beef, like spiced beef and stuff inside.
Oh.
Yeah,
Delicious. I'm sure there's probably like,
Like-
a Puerto Rican or
Yeah, there's like
equivalent, but I just
empanadas
can't think of
or
it.
like
It's similar to an
empanadas are the
empanada.
closest thing to
Yes.
that.
yeah,
Okay,
empanadas
okay,
probably
okay,
the closest
okay.
thing
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Other than that, fried chicken because I'm in the South and because you can have
Funny.
that. So
Yo.
listen, like there are two stereotypes here, and I only meet one. Not necessarily the biggest fan of watermelon, but fried chicken, just give me a plate and then
Big
leave
thumbs down.
Fuck.
myself.
Big thumbs down
Yeah.
for watermelon.
Listen,
Same.
not about that
Yes.
one.
I don't
Imagine-
like watermelon.
You know what? We all can be wrong. I'm like we all can be wrong once in our lives.
I'm not like
You can have
over.
all of our melon.
I do love me some watermelon. And I also love
all
me
have
grape
it.
soda. I'm
I do
not
love some
I
gonna.
love grape soda though.
What you want?
Okay,
I will
Purple
take the
drink,
stereotypes.
sugar, water, purple.
Yep.
You're
Let's
something
go.
fair. Like it's one of those things of being like, whoa. It's not that I dislike watermelon. It's that watermelon just isn't like my favorite thing.
Sure. Yeah. I'm the same.
Strawberries,
Oh yeah.
Big strawberry fan.
right? But grape soda, yeah, that
All day.
and if you know, you know, Inca Cola.
Oh, I ain't seen that
Yeah.
in a minute.
Mm.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while.
I haven't seen that in a minute, but that just brought me back.
You see
Respect.
how you see how I
Respect.
don't even have to say anything. Y'all
Nothing.
already know.
Reactions. Yeah.
So if Sin talking about like their relation to food really kind of made me think about all the foods that I love because it's very similar. I love a beef patty, which I don't know about you, Sin, but when I say beef patty, I don't just mean the beef ones. I'm talking about all of them, but they are just all beef patty. but like there's chicken, there's fish, but it's beef. It's a beef patty. You know
fan.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's yeah.
No, it's
but
just like,
ox-
hey, I want a beef patty. Which one? The chicken one.
yeah, exactly.
I love that.
But like oxtails, one of my favorite meals. My mom makes the best oxtails. And she uses she's Haitian, so she makes like a Haitian style sauce to go with it. It's always fantastic. It's usually served with like rice, salad. Always have a salad for a Haitian meal. And then banan or like plantain tostadas, whatever you want to call it. That's my favorite meal. I will always ask for it, even jokingly, and just hope that she makes it for her. Legume, also specifically my grandmother's, because she would always make it for us when we came out to visit New York. Because that was my mom's favorite dish. It's just vegetables with some chicken in it and stuff, like all kind of like cooked together. It's amazing. And again, serve with a salad and some rice and beans. Because the two Haitian sides, I think the two Caribbean sides, rice and beans, salad.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're really about that life, usually with French dressing.
You lost me. You lost me there. You lost me
No,
right there.
I don't like French dressing, but that's like the standard
The
in
standard
the
fare,
household.
Yeah.
Totally
yes.
respect it. Totally respect it.
Let's see. Fried chicken. Yep.
All day.
All day. And yeah, but those are just my favorite meals, and those are like the meals I always think of that like bring me comfort. And just remind me of like being with my family, especially my family back east, who I don't, I'm in Colorado. I don't get to see them that often. But just like I have all these like sense memories of like being in my grandmother's kitchen, eating at her little table, and like she made legume and just like piling it up on my plate and just sitting there eating, and while she's puttering around the kitchen and like, having a conversation in Creole with my mom. So
It's funny because you bring up all these things and it's kind of like overlap with other people's things, like like beans and rice and stuff like that. And I grew up in a Muslim family, right? Nation of Islam. My family had a restaurant, and so I literally grew up in a restaurant. So like fried fish and bean pie. Cause swear to y'all, I miss bean pie so goddamn much. I do. Like I ain't had bean pie in a minute, but I know when I go home, if I request, my mom will make me a bean pie. I know I have that. We had bean soup, which is amazing. Like the turmeric and the tomatoes and the onions and the garlic, flavor in there, blended all together. And yes, the bean soup will do what beans do to you, but I would love me some bean soup.
that sounds delicious.
And
It
much of
sounds
the
so
other
good.
foods that y'all all have brought up, but like it was a lot of homemade bread. Like the pie crust was all homemade. Like all of these things were like, I can remember the scents and smells like of being in the restaurant. I can even remember the smell of fish and fried fish sticking to our clothes when we came home, because
Amazing.
like I was homeschooled kid, so homeschooled meant I was in my dad's office where he was the manager of the restaurant, and that is where we got our education on. Like,
Amazing.
so I was learning how to run a business while also learning how to do math at the same time.
I love that.
And so all of this
Amazing.
sort of like ties together in like my memories, and it's for like all the good and all the bad, but it's like the food stuff kind of brought all of my family together, and not just my family, but like various people outside of our community. Like I got to go to my first concert, which was Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, because they came into my family's restaurant and was just handing out tickets like, y'all fam, let's go. Like,
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah,
So many folks, obviously, like I'm loud and proud Jacksonville, Florida, but many folks may not know that both my folks are originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. So lots of gumbo growing up.
All day.
My grandfather has a recipe. My grandmother on my mom's side has a recipe. My grandmother on my dad's side has a recipe. My dad has a recipe. I have one. My little brother has one. My little brother underneath him has one. And I try not to eat it too often because it's typically, because with all the ingredients that you have to have, like, it's kind of expensive to make. But when I do, like, there is nothing like the smell of that dark brown roux when you do
oh
it
my
right.
God, yes.
Which,
Oh my
if
God.
it's your first time doing a roux, that means you're stirring for an hour. Do not move. You are stirring for an hour. It's hot. Get over it. When you get good though, you can do it. You can whip it up in like 15 minutes on high, but just be really careful. But it's really funny because like that's the hard part, and then the rest of it is just dumping shit in at the right time. But specifically for me, chicken and sausage gumbo is my jam. Give me andouille sausage all day, every day. It is the only type of sausage that is in my fridge forever and always. It also is the reason why I hate okra, because every one of my family's recipes has okra in it. I do not care for okra at all. I respect people put some respect on fried okra. I respect that, but that shit can stay the fuck away from me.
that's the only okra I'll eat. Is fried okra. I will not eat that shit otherwise.
Yeah, for
Listen, you know what? Again, you're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Also, shout out to red beans and rice. Season your food, but that shit is so good. Season your food.
Okay, hold on.
Okay,
I have a branching question.
please.
What is the most? Because I know that we use several.
Mhm.
What is? I'll give you the top 3. How about that?
Ooh, here
The
we go.
top 3 most common seasonings that your family uses when they
Garlic,
cook food.
garlic. Every meal, I think, garlic.
Garlic,
Mhm.
definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
Definitely.
and honestly, salt, pepper.
Listen, no. You know what we had
Paprika?
up in ours? Lori's. Lori's
Lord.
was that
Shout out.
shit.
Lori's.
Lori's. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Any
There was
anything with like it had to have like some combination of salt, pepper, and paprika, which is why
And
I
paprika,
think
yeah.
Salt,
Lowry's
paprika,
like,
yeah.
like did that
Right.
because they blended
Yeah.
all of that stuff together. Where it was like, here,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to have seven seasons. Here, get this one.
This one.
Put it
Yeah.
on literally everything you fucking
Everything-
own because
everything
it will
is
taste
everything.
better.
You get the adobo and you're good.
That's
you don't
Adobo's
need
great.
that's
anything
what I grew.
else.
That's what I
adobo.
grew. That's what I grew up
Adobo,
on
yeah.
was adobo, and basically put
Yeah.
that on like literally anything savory,
Mhm.
from your eggs to your fish to your
Yep.
chicken to your
Mhm.
beef, whatever. You put adobo in it, and it's just it's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
But also we
yeah.
had the
Yeah.
Lori seasoned salt and all that sort of stuff too, and I'm like,
I need to talk about
I actually
how
grew up
paprika had
minimum.
a chokehold.
it's
Wow.
so good though. It's so good
yeah.
though.
I actually grew up so like here, like I think we use Lowry's for the most part. I don't think my mom uses it anymore, but like, I remember it distinctly. But then my biological father, because my parents are divorced, he actually married a Puerto Rican woman, so I grew up also with adobo. So I had like
Let's
the
go.
two spectrums, and it was like, so I'm just like, I'm getting the full experience right now
Mhm,
in food,
mhm.
like,
Amazing.
yeah, obviously never had a bad meal ever in my life. When
Nope.
eating a home cooked meal.
I remember. Oh, go ahead, Duval.
I was gonna say I was not a Lowry's household. I was a Morton's seasonal salt.
I know Morton's as well. I know Morton's as
and-
well.
Morton's has respect in this fellowship hall.
Same.
Mhm.
Indeed,
Yeah,
indeed,
yeah.
indeed. And it's really funny because I didn't really think about it until we brought it up, like how like ingrained, like just seeing like the comfort of just seeing like that, like on that, like the table, but like in the kitchen, right? Because typically it was not like, because we'd have like, you know, your classic salt and pepper shakers or whatever, but like typically like seasonal, the biggest fucking bottle that you could buy, and there it is. And which is funny because I don't think we even really use pepper all that much, at least back then. I use it a lot now myself, but also another shout out to chicken tikka masala, which I know is like basic Indian
yes,
food,
bitch.
but like
so
No,
good.
it's like
give me that orange ass chicken all day.
Yes.
okay, but like honestly, so fucking what? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like teriyaki chicken. Like y'all just mad because it's basic. It's still
Shout out
good.
to
Like
teriyaki
you
chicken.
know what I
Actually,
mean?
let's
Like
talk-
you don't need to
Look-
shit on it.
Because you know something, branching question for this. What was the kind of food, right, that y'all like with all the stuff that we grew up with the seasonings we grew up with? What was a type of food that you went somewhere and had? You was like, okay, hold up.
This ain't right.
No, like in a
Or
good
like-
way. Like
Oh, in a good way.
bitch,
Okay.
Because
okay.
like you saying chicken tikka masala, right, had me thinking about just like the first kind of time I had Indian food, and I'm just like, I see you though. I
Yeah.
do. You know something? Like
Oh, yeah.
respect to this. Like y'all
Yeah.
made this simple, but it's flavorful and it's good and enjoyable. And that's it. That's all it has to be. And
I think for me, the first thing that comes to mind is menudo. Because I don't know if you all know what menudo is. It's like a hominy soup, but it has like
Filipino, right?
Mexican.
Oh,
Well, Filipino might also because I believe there's like Spanish influences in Filipino culture. But it's like a tripe soup basically. It has like cow stomach and stuff, and hominy, and like I will admit it does not smell great. And I think like a lot of the times with food, like you eat with all of your senses, and so if something doesn't smell right, you're like, oh, I don't know about this.
right.
I ordered it one day because I was just like, I'm just gonna try it, and if I don't like it, then I never eat it again, and that's fine. Again, the smell, I was like, I don't know about this, but then you eat it, and like you put in like, you know, squirt a little lime juice in there, put some raw, fresh onions in there. It is amazing.
Does it
is
smell as bad as
delicious.
chitlins?
nothing does.
Like if it doesn't smell as bad as chitlins, it's
Chitlins?
probably I.
Chitlins is, I mean, we're talking about the digestion, so like stomach is like a little higher up on the digestion, you know,
Yeah.
circuit. I don't think it smells as bad.
Because chitlins was like, my grandmother used to make that. And remember, I grew up in a Muslim household. I ain't eat no pork. So it was like, this is evacuate the whole fucking scene. As soon as chitlins was getting made, that was like, I'm outside. I don't care if it's 100 degrees. I'm not being in here for this.
No, because like you can smell that from like a neighborhood away. You just like driving by the street, it's like, oh,
You're like,
You know
You're
what's
like,
happening
out here
in
on my
my
bike.
house?
you're like, grandma, I can't even, I'm not even allowed to smell it, grandma. I'm sorry. Don't make this. I can't.
I gotta go.
I gotta go. Chitlins, one thing that I've not eaten because I'm just like, my mom says this about them all the time, and I have to agree. I'm like, I don't care how much you squeeze and scrub, you're not getting all that shit out.
Yeah.
Listen, the reason the chitlin just came to my mind is because I was playing that Cult of the Lamb.
Oh my
And
god.
there's a part where someone asked me like, listen, I know this might
can
sound
you make
gross,
a poop?
but
Can you make a poop bowl? Can you make me a bowl of
I
poop?
want to eat a
Yep.
poop bowl. And I
Yep.
was like, oh, so you want
Wow.
chitlins? And that was the first thing that went through my
Amazing. Amazing.
But speaking to Sin's question, it was honestly, it was the first time I had Indian food because I came here to Philly. It was Indian food and sushi because I grew up in
Sushi,
Cleveland,
yeah.
Shout out to
Ohio,
sushi.
right? So Cleveland, Ohio, I had sushi in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was like, oh, this shit's gross. Who would eat this? This smells like hot ass. and
Don't
it's
buy
cold.
sushi in Ohio, y'all.
Don't buy sushi in Ohio. First
do
off,
it.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
And so I was ruined. I would not have sushi for the longest time. Then I went somewhere where they were like, no, we got real sushi. Let me put you on game. And then I had
Right.
sushi and I was like, oh, this shit goes.
So like this whole thing where you had to like sit back for a second in the chair and be like, hold on.
I literally had a moment being like, wait a second, the world has been lying to me about whether this is good or
You're
not.
like,
It's all Ohio's fault. It's
Ohio
Ohio's
lied
fault.
to me.
Yeah.
But
And
that
here's the thing, though, it was still in Ohio, but I went to a
Oh.
real Japanese
Oh,
restaurant.
that's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
only
That's the difference.
Japanese people there, like
You
running that place, and I was like,
gotta
oh
go to the
shit.
Japanese place.
Gotta go.
Cannot go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
'Cause
Indian
that's-
food here in Philly, where there's like actually Indian people working there. I was like, oh, y'all got me forever. I'm part of the fam now. Tell me how to make this.
Yeah.
You talking about sushi? I also had the same experience with sushi, where like not that I had like a bad experience, but like I think for a lot of people, the first time you're like introduced to sushi when you're not from that like the Japanese culture, so like raw
Like
fish,
raw
what the
fish,
fuck?
yeah, exactly.
Especially because like you grow up and it's like you need to cook things
don't
all the way
add
through,
everything.
All the way,
you know.
yeah.
Your
So, like,
steak
I had-
better taste like rubber.
Okay, actually, can we talk about that? Because that
Well,
was my
yeah.
experience. It wasn't sushi. It was like I started
Midwest
working for an
steak.
Italian company,
Yeah.
and they were just like, "Okay, we're gonna go get a steak." And then when I got ready to order the steak, and I said medium, they were like, "No, finish the sentence. What do you mean finish the sentence? No, medium." They're just like,
No.
okay,
No, sir.
we're gonna
You can
take
go."
care of this, and you're just gonna eat whatever arrives when it gets here. This is
Yep.
medium rare, and how you need to handle your steak. The fuck do you mean?
Yep.
Because because it was kind of like, if you don't cook it all the way through, you might die. And I'm like, well,
I mean,
in Canada they have to cook it all the way through.
I did not know that.
Because I remember I went up. I had friends who were from Canada and they came up and they were and like one of them was a cook and he was saying like, we have to cook it all the way through. We don't do rare or anything because of
So
like
no
just like
pink at all.
yeah. And I'm just like I'm gonna need
Listen, if they make it juicy.
if I die I mean
like-
honestly if I die I die. So
yeah. Like-
but oh sorry.
No, I was gonna add to the sushi train. Specifically, when the first time I had sushi in Japan, I literally burst into tears at how good.
Oh,
I have pictures for sharing if you want to see them. But
I mean always.
always. But yeah, it's this is actually just a picture of me actually crying.
You had it on. You had
I
it
was ready.
on.
I was ready.
Heck.
I just had to hit enter. I just had to hit enter. It.
I love this. Let me see.
Oh no! Yeah, go for it.
Oh my god.
And yeah, it was
So
incredible.
precious.
And then I didn't eat sushi for like I think maybe 6 months. Like after that, like because I was like,
Yeah, you don't wanna
how
spoil
the
it.
fuck?
You
how the
have to
fuck
keep
can I-
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna
literally.
s-
How could I?
Mhm.
I was gonna say though, talking about sushi reminded me another food that like kind of made me go, huh, this actually isn't bad. Escargot.
Yes.
Delicious.
Yeah.
That's what
No,
goes
And
great.
like and again, like as a growing up, like my stepdad actually like really was like about introducing us to like new experiences and new food. Like when he and my mom were first dating, we would go to like out to eat pretty much every weekend. And like he took us to this fish company and he had ordered escargot and I was like, okay, let me try it because I think I've always been kind of an adventurous foodie even as a kid, and I loved it. And so every time we went to that restaurant, I was like, give me my escargot.
Mhm.
And then I didn't have it for like a long time. But then I actually went to New Orleans a few years ago, and he was like, "Okay, let me try see if I still like escargot." And I'm like, you know what? This shit still hits. Okay,
Mhm.
it's very simple. It's a very simple preparation, just that butter and garlic, but it's so good.
It's that garlic though. Like it's.
It is.
day.
That's
it
the
is-
thing.
yeah.
That's also another thing. If you put butter in stuff, like you just get that real butter. I mean, like the fat is what makes it good, y'all. I'm just saying.
Fat-
Just saying.
Fat
y'all.
is flavor.
Fat is flavor.
Added flavor.
Get that butter. Get that garlic. Like it's just put it.
I
in
mean,
there.
unless y'all are dealing with like severe dietary restrictions and all this
Correct.
other stuff,
Sure,
which,
sure.
we,
Yes.
Of course.
which we
Yeah.
see y'all. But here, I'm just gonna go ahead and bring this over here for the hot take. You having dietary restrictions doesn't mean you can't have flavorful food.
Bingo.
Oop, let him know.
You don't
And
have to
I-
have
Let 'em know.
boring food.
Listen, I learned this. I decided I was going to take a year just to see if I could do it being vegetarian. I did a whole year of this. And I was
How
like,
was that?
can you still make flavorful food as a vegetarian? And guess what? My seasoning cabinet is full of delicious flavors.
I was
You
about to say-
absolutely can. And you can
I'm
also
like-
make very fattening food while
Yeah.
still being a vegetarian.
I'm like,
too.
look,
There you go.
seasoning is vegetarian. Just so
Yes.
you know, in case you
That's
didn't know
true.
that,
Yeah.
seasoning is vegan. Most of it, anyway.
I mean, if we're
So-
Yeah.
for everyone's like notes and for humor, like you can be a vegan and have Oreos. You can have flavorful food.
Yo!
I promise it's a
Mhm,
thing.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
And this is just a PSA. Please season your food.
See
And
your
if you
food?
don't,
Bare
And if you
minimum
don't
salt and
season your
pepper.
food-
Bare
I will
minimum.
judge
if you
you.
don't, don't
Okay.
season your food, don't invite me over to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Or
It
if
still
you
freaks
do,
me out when
open
I
your
go into
seasoning
people's
cabinet for
kitchens,
me. Yeah.
because I've
I-
cooked at people's houses and I go in their seasoning cabinets and there's just
Like
like,
four
salt and
things.
pepper that's
Yeah.
literally like it.
Maybe oregano.
Maybe like an Italian seasoning thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like yeah, like the
so-
all-purpose
A
Italian
packet,
seasoning.
the little packet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Okay,
Ridiculous.
I'm asking us all to out ourselves here just a little bit.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Have you ever
Never.
been asked to go somewhere and been like, you know what, and just take it like a hand, like just like a
Yes.
small little bag full of like your
Of, like,
own, like
seasoning?
I have to have
Yes,
some
I have.
seasoning
That first,
at a
that
place.
first time I did this at somebody else's house was a lesson learned. I came in with like, I'm over here like Mary
You had your
Poppins, just a
bandolier
bag
of like
of just seasonings and stuff like this. And they're like, why you need all that for? Because flavor, bitch. Like, what do you want?
my
from
mouth
me?
It's just
wasn't
like,
happy.
why do you need this? And you just put the chicken on the plate. The chicken that I'm looking at looks like printing paper. That is why I have this bag.
How
Speaking
long
of
did you
chicken, stuff
boil?
like
How
that,
long did you boil this?
Oh,
I just
stop.
had a moment of thinking of this episode of Atlanta from this season, and where these white ladies literally took pieces of chicken, dropped them in a bag of flour, rolled it around, and then stuck it in the microwave. And I'm like, no, please, God.
Okay.
You're gonna kill someone!
I died.
Goodbye.
I just
Goodbye.
died.
I'm
I
not
fell
Goodbye
into the
forever.
ground.
We
You watch
lost
this
it.
episode,
We lost
It's
it.
gonna hurt you. It's
Can't
gonna
do
hurt
it.
you. I was like,
can't.
they had no washcloths in their houses. Like, it was so wild. It was funny
Oh.
as shit. But I'm
Oh my
like,
God, that-
God.
it's
that
real,
reminds me-
though.
On TikTok, I follow this account where like this person does like duets with other people who are cooking and just like criticizes them. And this is like some of the shit people are cooking. I'm like, what the fuck? Y'all just don't respect food ever.
No.
What the fuck is wrong with
It's
you?
disrespectful.
Okay, can we talk about like the 6 months or so in social media that had every marginalized person in a vice grip because people would just be disrespectful with food and be like, I'm going to like cook my food and then put it on the kitchen counter and I'm not gonna wash my hands and I'm not seasoning any of this stuff. The person
Okay.
who tried to make macaroni and cheese by boiling Doritos.
Oh yes, yes!
Oh my
I saw
God!
that shit.
Yes!
And I was
Oh
like,
God!
no,
Or
I'm done with the
people were
internet
cooking
today.
things in the
I literally
toilet.
just
I'm
logged
just-
off. Logged
Okay.
I'm
Look,
still. Go ahead, Fair.
I was gonna say, but people who don't clean their meat though,
Oh, clean your meat, yo.
what
So-
the fuck?
Cleaning, I know that at least for chicken in particular, because of salmonella things,
Yeah.
like how to clean that is like a different thing. But generally speaking, that meat is touching some water for like a hot second before I put it anywhere.
Something.
Mhm, mhm,
Right,
mhm,
something. We
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
I
We
need
do
y'all to
water and
like,
vinegar.
acknowledge
Soap
that
and
there
water.
has to be a
Vinegar.
process here.
Listen, you do not have to soap and water your all of
No.
your meat.
Put,
Yeah,
don't
no.
put
do that.
soap on
Don't put
anything
soap
you're
on
gonna
your
eat.
food.
On your
Don't
food.
put it on
This
your food.
being a thing.
No,
Y'all,
no.
When we
You know
tell
what?
you to like clean your meat, you understand that if you put soap in your mouth, it's poisonous. So if you put it on the things you're going to eat, that's also not a
I
good
don't
thing.
understand.
You know
people.
what? You know what? Time out on this. You know what? Go ahead and clean your meat with dish soap, baby. I'm not gonna
Figure
eat
it
it.
out. Figure it
Not-
out.
I'm not gonna eat it.
Going home. Right.
If you can't figure out that you shouldn't do
Yeah.
that, that's
Yeah,
on
use
you.
That use that dish detergent.
I
Sir,
saw,
go
I
for
saw, I saw this on TikTok, and I was like, "The fuck is they doing? Wait, is that dish soap? What is
It's
Parents
happening?
out here
Oh
like,
no!
gone
Oh no!
glory.
I'm just,
It's
Speaking
it's
of-
the s- honestly, it's the same energy as you know what? Bleach will cure COVID. I'm like,
Oh, use something.
Okay.
Tide
It's the
Pods.
same energy.
All right.
Same
If we're
energy.
making-
Tide Pods, yep.
You know what? Sure.
Eat them
Tide
Pods.
Pods.
Yep. No. God.
I'm still broken. Speaking of TikTok, by the run through of all the people that were trying to justify not cooking their chicken all the way through.
Oh God, that was a cursed time.
That raw
I was-
chicken
I was
shit?
like,
no.
I was like,
There was
y'all
a
are
chicken
y'all are
sushi
kidding,
thing
right?
that was going around,
Yeah,
and I was
y'all
like,
are-
no, you don't, no, you
What?
ain't.
Right. Now
No, you ain't.
there is
I just
there
threw up in
is-
my mouth a little bit.
But I'll eat chicken
gagging.
sushi,
Hold
but
on,
not in fucking
stop.
America.
No.
I'm not,
Chicken
you know.
Son,
Yeah.
you said chicken sushi. I don't know
Yeah.
if there is a Japanese person who would be like, this seems like a good idea.
No.
Yeah, that's true. That's also
No.
true.
No cooked chicken? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Right. Right.
We all know the kind of person who's doing that. That's
Yeah.
all I'm gonna say.
They're not in the
There
same.
is
people who make
a-
cannibal sandwiches, if y'all know what I'm talking about over
the
in the
same,
West.
the
Y'all
same
never
people
heard of
who.
cannibal sandwiches?
No,
I
I
don't
need
want
to
to
know
hear
now,
about
though.
it.
Okay, so this is over in Wisconsin. This is the thing. I don't know where, but they literally just take ground beef, put a little salt on it, and I believe it's like some green seasoning,
Yeah.
and they make sandwiches of these things. They just put it on a piece of like fucking toast, and they eat it. Just ground beef, raw, with a little salt.
So
I think
here's the
that's.
thing.
It's not beef tartare. Beef tartare has
Oh.
some preparation.
If you
This is
want,
not
if you,
prepared.
like, just like if you want beef tartare, steak tartare, just say that. Although I can't do that for texture reasons, like it just
Sure.
no,
Same.
and also just like I absolutely can't. But also,
This is not beef tartare. This is literally just like
Just
I took
ground
ground
beef.
beef,
out
slapped it
the
on some
pack
bread,
from Publix.
Yeah,
crunch
yeah.
of like sea
Some sort of
salt,
green
and then
salt,
I
yeah.
just start eating
So-
that shit.
Oh, so still really no seasoning.
No.
You can't even season your raw.
No. They call them cannibal sandwiches, and people
I
get sick
I bet
by
the bread is white
hundreds
bread.
every year.
Why? I wonder why.
Well,
Why?
It's
here's the
tradition.
thing. I mean,
Traditions
you
Our
are
caveman
bad.
No, wait,
ancestors used
no,
to
hold on
eat
for a
it.
moment.
I swear to you, these are excuses that people have said.
Hold on.
So
Two
many
things. Tradition. Whose tradition? Because all the places that I frequent are people who know how to apply fire to things. Second thing,
Yeah, isn't the tradition cavemen
They
discovering
made the
fire?
They made the
Cavemen
fire.
made
Of
fire
like-
so they could cook food and not have it kill
And not
them.
die.
no, like things like, oh, I want you to consider something. Like y'all just said, your caveman ancestors ate some stuff, realized that people weren't living very long, and that the food didn't keep really well, and they had to fight other predators for it, and was just like, this
Well,
fire might be useful for something.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're talking about individuals who stole spices and then only
They didn't
used
use
them.
them.
No, they used them. They used them to
get
cover
more
up
money.
the smell of rancid meat,
Yes.
so they could keep eating it.
Oregon
Well,
Trail.
in
What
some
up?
cases, and or people who didn't use them because they were just like, oh, there's so much of this, poor people can have it. Well, we're not interested in this now.
Right, that too. So,
Spices
That-
make your life better, everyone.
I'm gonna be real with you.
Yes.
That cannibal sandwich thing made me sick to my stomach.
That's so.
Like,
Yes,
listen,
these-
when I heard
so-
about this
you know
being a real
something?
thing, I was like, what the
Hate it
fuck?
so much.
Wait a minute, was this also brought to us by the person who was just kind of like, hey, do you take baths? Nope, just water. Do you brush your teeth
Oh my
with toothpaste
God!
and things? Nope,
Oh,
I
just
saw
water.
that guy. Oh my God.
Absolutely
clean
not.
my legs.
Just water.
Yes.
No. Sin, I know exactly who you're talking about. There's this guy who says, when he showers, he just rinses off. When he brushes his teeth, he just rinses off.
I
Just
don't-
rinse.
He does,
It's just a rinse.
uses a toothbrush with just water, no
Just
toothpaste.
rinse. I'm just like,
Where are your parents? I need to talk to
where,
them.
honestly,
Any
Where-
adults in
where's your
life.
mama?
If
Yeah.
if their parents are alive, well, if his parents are alive, his parents are like,
I don't claim him.
No.
He's not mine. Not mine. Nope.
No.
Y'all
Nope.
just
Hey,
wash,
so
wash your
y'all-
bodies, put soap on your bodies.
Wash-
It's there for a
wash-
reason. Listen,
Wash your
Okay.
ass. Wash your
Wash your
ass, okay?
ass.
Wash
your ass and the bottom of your feet. Listen, you may not put your mouth on your feet, but your feet gonna get rank if you don't wash your feet.
Oh my
also,
God.
like, one, all the way down, and two, as an added suggestion, whatever you were using to wash your asses, please do not use it to wash
Wash
other
your-
things like your face.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, you people
here's
get
the thing,
Zapdos
though.
going to
They don't
the
use a
Gullible
washcloth. They
instructions.
just use their
I was about to
hands.
say the
So
same thing.
Yeah.
I was about to say the same thing. They don't use washcloths.
just straight
And
up
I don't-
from here to here.
Here's the thing. I'm always so baffled.
Let's go.
I'm always so baffled when there's no washcloth, and like people be like, "Well, I don't know what it's for." I'm like, "Baby, it's in the name. Washcloth.
It
it's
literally
in the
tells
name."
you right there.
You know
Amazing.
something? For people who are unfamiliar with what washing is, I could assume a word with wash in the compound word is also unfamiliar.
Listen,
Like they
you
just
got-
read
you
this
got a
and
bunch
like
of black
the
people in here.
words
This is advice from black
are
people.
around.
Wash
People
your
think
ass.
it's wash your
Wash
ass.
your
To do
Come
it.
from
Eat your food.
a
Well,
whole
you know,
bunch
the
of black
bare
people
minimum.
who
Once again, black people are teaching you how to bathe.
Can we talk
Once
about
again.
this? We grew up with decorative shit. It was one of those,
Yeah.
you know what these are for, but also don't touch these.
Yes.
These ones are for touch. These ones are for
Same.
decoration. These ones are for use, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah,
which
the
ones are which.
1000%.
I got in
we
so
had
much
that.
trouble all the time.
Mhm.
Okay.
I was a rebel, so I was like, I'm fancy, so I'm.
Today,
Listen, that hand towel
I
you
deserve
got
it.
bougie.
laying there, that's not
I
for
was bougie
you.
even at 7.
That's,
Yeah.
that's for company. That's not for you. We'll
That's
have
for
company.
company.
It's still
Yeah.
not for you.
Right.
Right.
Jesus is in this
The
house.
China.
Listen, Jesus is company.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
I have another food question.
Let's go.
Give
yes.
it to me.
In your family, what is the I love you and I know you're going through things. Here's like when someone gives you extra of X food, what is the I love you food because I gave you extra of this?
Mac and cheese, mashed potatoes,
Same.
and ice cream.
Oh.
Mashed,
Same.
mashed potatoes, plantains for sure.
Plantains though.
Plantains all day. Whenever I like, my mom makes them. She always makes extra for me.
Okay, I have a question about how
I love them.
I want to make a mental note about plantains that I want to ask when everybody else has a chance
Yes,
Mm.
to talk. 'Cause
plantains.
we got different. We got plantains
I
from
got
different
you.
places. So
Yes.
Because I know for me, like strangely enough, that feeling is associated for me with oxtail. If someone gives you extra,
Oxtails?
extra oxtail and takes the time to make sure all of that stuff has an appropriate level of sauce, this is kind of like they have adopted you at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like-
Absolutely.
Like,
Well-
give them your phone number, make sure to send them Christmas cards and birthday cards every year because this person clearly loves you.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Well, oxtails here is it's a very special meal because my stepdad does not eat beef. So it's a meal that's like, oh, he's going out of town.
it's a celebration.
He's going out of town. I got the
Amazing.
oxtails in the freezer.
Hey.
I think for me it's because we like I dessert was so rare that because it was always like because I grew up with like my parents would force us to because we were meatitarians growing up, so they would force us to eat vegetables first before we could get the meat.
Sure.
And then dinner's over, right? But then every once in a while, Dad would bring home the pecan pie, throw some vanilla ice cream on top of that bitch. Blam!
I just
We are in it to
went
win
to
it.
paradise for 2 seconds.
Also, shout out to those beautiful ass strawberry shortcake bars. What's that?
The
Hormel, I
like
think?
frozen, the ones that
Oh,
are just
yeah,
like
yeah.
they
Yes.
were
The ice
everywhere
cream ones?
Yes.
with like the
Yep.
stuff on the
Yep.
with the
Yep.
stick and
Yep.
the stuff
Oh,
on the
little-
outside.
I'm about
Yep.
to run
fucking
down the
day.
street and chase this fucking ice cream truck until
Yeah.
they stop.
God damn right. Don't you fucking
Yeah.
Go.
don't you ding 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 past my fucking house, bitch.
Yeah.
You better get your ass back here.
I got
$3.
$3 and 2 different shoes on trying to get to you.
Right?
Yo, shoot. Hold on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, bless you for putting on
That's
shoes.
those war shoes.
Shoes?
My mama used to
Nah,
get me all the
nah,
time for
black
running
top.
down the street. That's just
Put-
no
black
shoes
top.
on.
Yes, exactly.
Ow, ow, ow,
Yep, yep,
ow,
yep, yep,
ow, ow, ow.
The dead of summer, it's hot as fuck. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
You just said flap, 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 flap.
Yep. Yep.
Let's talk about how I know that half of y'all probably had a running relationship with the ice cream man, but they would linger
Yes.
an extra 2 seconds by your
Oh, yeah,
house just
for
to make
sure.
sure you weren't coming
They knew who
outside.
we was.
Yes.
Let me-
My family we had so many kids in the house, right? So they knew it was about to be money because there's like, well, when I was growing up in my hood, like I have 8 or 7 younger siblings, so they're gonna get 5
Oh,
of
yeah.
us minimum. They come past my crib. If we come
Right.
out with money, it's about to rain.
Yeah.
Let me talk to y'all about the candy lady for a second.
Oh, the candy
no,
lady,
my
bitch!
God.
Yo, so
Not the frozen
Introduce me.
styrofoam cups of Kool-Aid
Oh,
right
yes.
at the house.
Tell me.
All
Day.
Right
all
Inform
day,
me.
all day.
Mhm.
I need to know. Y'all know, and I need to know.
This hood shit right here.
This is straight up. This actually only happened when we were living in New Orleans. My folks had actually split up, and my mom and me and my little brother moved back to New Orleans with my mom and my grandma, and we would walking home from school. I'm like in second grade at this point, and we would always pass by the candle lady's house. It's amazing to think about now. This would be absolutely inappropriate behavior now.
Oh,
This is
absolutely.
an absolute product of the early 90s.
The time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Where you get home from school and you got a few bucks or whatever, and like there is a large menu of like, which is like ridiculous in hindsight. Like what is the overhead that we're talking about here from a business perspective? But whatever, you because I used to eat like which is funny because it's still a candy lady regardless, but like we would buy like packs of ramen, and like we used to eat that shit like straight up raw and just put the seasoning
Oh.
on that shit and just nom
It's,
away on
it's
the way
good that
home.
way. You gotta
Yep.
get the crunch. You gotta get
Yep.
the crunch.
Frozen
Raw noodles, y'all.
popcorn balls.
That's something you can
Popcorn
eat raw
balls.
and not feel bad about it. Like,
That's
let's be
true.
real.
That's true. Popcorn balls. That was my introduction.
Popcorn
to
balls, for sure.
Kids, for sure. Screwballs, which were frozen, had the little gumball at the bottom. And so like we didn't even have like it got to the point where the competition between the ice cream man and the candy lady was like so high that they stopped. They like strategically would like move or change their routes. Like it got so bad. I'll
That's
never
real.
forget when because I can remember how the back of like my knuckles felt against the mesh like screen door. Like I remember it, like I feel it, like I can feel it as I'm talking about it right now. And then there was this one day where like she just didn't answer.
Just gone. Just
Oh
gone.
no!
Just
No.
gone. And and that was it. And I was just like,
Yeah.
but this is life. What do we do now? Like,
I like
and then of course.
distinct. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna add like, and then of course like what I know now is like we could have bought all this shit at the grocery store the whole fucking time.
You could have gone to the
no
corner
matter,
store.
Of course.
Well,
But
the thing
it's not
is-
the fucking candy lady on the way home.
It's
from
not.
school.
It's
Well,
the
like,
experience.
The candy lady isn't like a person that you buy things from. It's literally a communal function at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
person isn't just selling people candy. They also have the tea about
Yeah,
all
do
of
they
them
have the
kids.
tea? Yes, they do.
Everything.
Because listen, the candy lady doesn't just walk up to you and is like, hey, what are you gonna go buy? You already know how much things are, help yourself or whatever.
Right.
The candy lady is also the person who knows which kids can't afford stuff and decided to just be like, you can just take this one for today.
Oh
Don't
yeah, I had
worry
a tab.
about it.
Mm,
And
mm.
it's
You had a
also
tab.
the-
Amazing.
And it's
Mhm.
also the person who's kind of like, now you know your mama don't let you walk outside this house like that. Why are you out here acting like this?
Straight up.
Because
You
they
know,
would
them
absolutely-
lights about to come on, and you about to get your ass whooped.
because you know they would see you come into the into the little shop with like a bundle full of people that you know you weren't supposed to be hanging around and be like, hey baby, can I talk to you for a second? What's this? You know you're not supposed to be out here doing all this foolishness.
Second
Like, you
mom,
better,
yep.
like it's about 2 seconds before these street lights come on. You know how your mama is. All right. Just you need to go ahead and get yourself back onto the house. Get yourself back onto the house. Now, you know, like don't let me hear anything bad happen to you over there. It's gonna be a
Mhm.
problem for both of us.
So the weird part for me is my mom was the candy lady and my
Yo!
my mom was the candy lady.
So
In my
you know
aunt's
exactly what I'm talking
neighborhood-
about.
In my aunt's neighborhood, there was this Asian lady who was a candy lady who was like our go-to person. And the wild part was when she disappeared, we didn't know what the fuck happened. Well, like 2 weeks later, she opens up a corner store. So now she's the penny candy lady at the corner store with the hookup. And she used to be the one, because me and my little brother used to have a little side hustle. We would cut people's grass. We do little side jobs for people. So she'd be our go-to like liaison for like jobs that need to be done in the hood. She's like, the old lady who lives over on 16th over here, she needs some help getting her groceries in. And she goes every Wednesdays. Y'all can stop by over there and help her carry her groceries. Sure as shit. That was how we was getting paid. And so we go back, spend that money at her store. So she was keeping the economy going.
The game.
Damn.
That communal functions.
Fucking
I
amazing.
love that.
I didn't have these kinds of experiences with the candy lady in my neighborhood, but I do like distinctly remember like walking down a couple blocks. This woman had just boxes of candy just in her garage, and then walking away with some dinky ass candy cigarettes, thinking I was fucking cool.
Oh my God, me too. Swisher Sweets.
Okay, hold on for a moment. Was it the blue cigar or the pink cigar, or were they the smaller ones?
No, it was the cigarettes, the chalky candy cigarettes.
Okay.
Not even
Well,
a
we have
cigar.
to-
Shout out to
Because they did
Pix.
both of those.
Yep.
Amazing.
Plantains.
Yes.
I remembered.
No, I did not forget. Trust me.
We're
I
here.
love that.
We are here.
Talk to me.
So plantains, specifically fair, but anybody who has any opinions about plantains. How do you prepare plantains in your house / your parents' house? How are they? How do you do them?
So what we do is, you get the oil hot, you chop them on a diagonal, peel, obviously peel, chop on diagonal, fry them for a little bit until they start getting a little golden, pull them out, smash them, throw them back in the oil until they're golden, and then take them out, put some salt on it. I think when they're ripe, then that's for like when they're not ripe.
Right.
Because that's like the savory one. When they're ripe and sweet, it's a little similar, but they're a little softer, so you don't have to like squish too hard. And yeah, and then the little, salt to cut through the sweetness. You can also boil them. I've had boiled and mashed, and that's really good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead. I was gonna say, but here we usually just fry them.
Okay, yeah, because that's similar. So I had plantains, of all places, at a Renaissance fair in fucking Virginia. That were the boiled ones, and they got like sticky and caramelized, and it would like basically just somebody took and quartered the whole fucking plantain. So you had like this much of like plantain, but it was really sweet and really good. But we did the similar thing, except that we fry them till they're a little bit yellow, and then we mash them, and then we put them in like a heavily garlic salted bowl of water, and then we fry them again. Because it gets them really, really crispy, and also has that like garlic and then you put some more garlic salt. It's basically just like garlic. It's just garlic. It's so garlicky and salty, and it's just
garlic.
It's just garlic. See, garlic, everyone.
Yes, garlic.
Name of the episode. Garlic.
You'll talk about all those
It's
plantains. I didn't even have plantains, so I was like in my late teens, and I dated a Mexican girl for a little bit, and I went over to her house for dinner, and we had them for like desserts. They were like fried
the sweet
plantains. They were
ones?
sweet, had ice cream on them, and I was like, I don't really like bananas. And they were like, they just laughed at me. I was like, it's not a banana. And I was like, and I had this shit, and I was like, what wizardry
You get some
did y'all
caramel
just put?
sauce on there
This
too,
is
and it's just
it was
Ooh,
caramel
yes.
sauce. They had like something she did with condensed milk and like cinnamon
oh
and
my
shit.
god, yes.
And I was in here like
yeah,
basically crying in joy because I didn't know what the fuck was like happening to my taste buds. And then her dad called her ex-boyfriend on me, and I had to run home. Really felt having a black dude over. It was fucked up, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What a twist!
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that was a twist I absolutely did not see coming.
Oh,
You're
you're not
just like,
expecting that.
thanks for the plantains, I guess.
Listen,
I guess I gotta
ran
go
home
fucking
full
my
and
ass.
happy.
Yeah.
Yo, you got what
That's-
you got what you needed out of the
that-
situation.
That's something about like specifically Puerto Rican households, because like rice and beans, 100%, 100%
rice and
there with
beans,
all
yeah.
y'all. It's rice and it's beans forever and ever, amen.
Oh,
and then
amen.
also basically everything sweet has sweetened condensed milk on or
Yep.
in it involved.
Gotta-
like
gotta have the
flan.
condensed milk.
Y'all have had flan before?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Good,
Good shit.
great, good.
Yes.
That's if you haven't, please, because it's the best. It's weird texturally, but it's like, aha, it's like 90% sweet.
I haven't had it in a while. Like I've had it, but like I think when I was younger, I didn't like it because of the texture, and now I'm wondering like,
It is
oh,
an
I should try it
interesting
again to see if
texture.
it's.
Yeah.
But man, like,
If it's
Ooh,
done
dulce
good,
de
it is-
leche. Shut the
oh,
fuck
dolce
up.
de leche.
Yep,
Oh,
yep,
fuck up,
yep,
Sin.
yep,
Ah.
I'm just putting that
Uh,
in chat because I'm not trying to have everybody melt from the screen immediately.
No, yeah, no, dulce de leche is so fucking good.
Like,
and I
first
also
time I
had
had horchata, I was like,
literally.
Oh my
okay,
God.
so
Oh,
Gen
man.
Con,
Shit.
Gen
For
Con
real.
was literally the first time I had actually had horchata, and I'm about
Wow.
to explode because I'm so upset because I grew up in like a dry household, so we didn't have like any sort of anything alcoholic or anything like that, and I had horchata at Gen Con, and I'm like,
oh yeah, Ryan.
I was robbed.
That shit was like,
It was great, but it was.
This is the third
Okay,
time
so
I've
tell
heard
me
about
about
horchata
horchata.
at Gen Con.
It's the same one. It's the
Tell
same
me
one. I
about
can guarantee
horchata.
you. Horchata is like if you took a cinnamon roll and liquefied it into
like
a
a-
beverage. It's
It's
rum.
like a rice milk.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah,
it's a little bit
You don't-
creamy, but not like an Irish cream or like a Bailey's.
You don't
or
have-
anything like that.
You don't have to have it alcoholic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, so there's like a horchata rum that is
Yeah.
like that, but it's like
Oh, yeah, that
cinnamon
shit-
and like a
Yeah.
rice milk, and it is delicious.
It
Um,
legitimately tastes like if you took a cinnamon roll and just
Yeah.
liquefied it,
yeah,
and it's
it's so good. Okay, but speaking of junk, we've been talking about food for like an hour and a half.
we have been talking
and
about
I
food for a
love
lot.
it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think that's
Lots
kind
of
of important because here's the thing,
Yeah.
too, of like it'll come up later. Things like this are also why I think about things the way I do when it
Mhm.
comes to characters that I make in games.
yes.
Yeah.
Whenever
Yes.
we jump
Yes.
to whenever we jump to that topic,
That's a
I'm
great
absolutely
that's a
holding
better
it to, like,
let's
that's a
set- let's
better
get into
seg-
it.
that's a
That's a
better
good segue.
segue.
We're
That's a
going-
better
let's go.
segue than what I was
Okay.
gonna do, which was like
Professionals.
like I'm
Yes.
okay. So okay. Side note, I have a whole bunch of just like random things where my job just went, hey, here's a whole bunch of people you need to talk to them about a few things, and you need to figure out a way to just make that flow in a way that makes sense. So I would just do that at random. My
Perfect.
Love
apologies
it.
for better or for worse.
no,
Now, with that,
perfect. You nailed it.
like last night I was sitting here thinking about what would I do or how would I make a tavern that doesn't serve alcohol
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. But I also think about when I think about taverns, most people think about going there to get like food or drink and then talk to the party about stuff. Most of
Right.
the time I'm also like, well, what kind of tea does this has? Because when I think about taverns and barkeepers, I think about people like the Candy Lady.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think about all of these things like the food and the drinking isn't the point. It's the people that you get to
Yes.
be with when you do those things. That's
Yeah.
the point in
Yeah.
a lot of
Mhm.
cases. And it like it's one of those, you know, how does this tie into like memories or experiences and what does this bring people together to do whenever food and drink is involved? Because we have been talking about food for however long since the beginning of this whole thing. It's just one of those, if there weren't a change of subject, we could just keep talking about it
I was
because
totally
Absolutely.
it goes on
Mhm,
forever.
mhm,
Most of the most memorable things I have about food are talking to people about how similar our life experiences are.
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In the middle of like this table full of people in Dubai for work, and we were sitting there as coworkers talking about all of this like random food that they have. Like they served me octopus, but also cooked in its own ink, which I feel is
Oh.
also like deliciously ironic,
Mhm.
or what have you. But while we're sitting here talking about it, people start talking about, you know, like family gatherings and what was it like the first time you learned how to drive? was your mom like super nervous and like shouting at you and making you nervous? And everybody was just like, yeah. And I'm just like,
Yep.
I had never seen these people. We do not have the same cultures and we do not speak the same languages, but boy, we sure are similar right now.
Food is one of those things that breaks down so many barriers because everybody eats and everybody has memories attached to food, good or bad, that you can then draw off of.
So then you get like this whole thing of like when we come together to do things, it's a lot like all of those situations where we sit here, it's just like, it's like this. It reminds me of this. Do you remember the time that this went a certain way or what have you?
Mm-hmm. And that specific thing that you just said, Sin, is something that happens in TTRPGs in general. Like, we told you we would get here eventually, y'all. But that's something that happens all the time. I will point to Duval because we talk about our game, Outcast and Outclass, literally all the fucking time. My character, hashtag spoilers, if you haven't watched it by now, you should. My character died. My character died in the first 7 episodes of this game that we played. Level 1 baby. And we are our characters and like us as individuals, we as people outside of the game, this is a legitimate memory that we have, both as players and also our characters, that is as real as the time I learned how to ride a bike.
Like, for sure.
It's just as vivid and just as real, and I think that's fantastic that TTRPGs can do that. That sort of thing.
To speak to Sen's point, like one of the things that I think about to make worlds alive, I GM more often than not. One of the things that I do when I have new games or new places is I make up rumors and the things that people would talk about in communal spaces. Like what sort of things would you might come across if you go listening in on somebody else's shit, like when you're rolling those perception checks to find maybe a specific thing, maybe you don't find that, but maybe someone's talking about like what rumors going around with this local boy who's gotten this one girl pregnant, or like this other thing that's going around, like someone broke into somebody's house, or someone's like mom's been getting doing her thing on the side while she's got another person over here. Like these are the sort of things that you hear in these sort of situations. Like, you ever sat like down near your like grandmother's table and stuff like that while that family is talking and you start hearing some shit that you probably wasn't supposed to hear? Like, that's real, and that's the kind of stuff that brings worlds alive. And these things happen over meals and drinks. So that's why I try to put those into games to make people feel like, oh shit, this is a real thing, and I want that to stick in your head, even if it's not related to your quest or story or anything, because the world is still alive regardless.
The world is still alive, and people are still messy, and I want to hear that drama.
Give me that tea. Give me that tea. Plus, like it's I'll say, and to very like to be humble brag for a minute, like a staple of a Duval game is food. Food is super important. I didn't
notice. No, I'm kidding.
Go watch that Red Ball game.
A whole fucking series trying to get to a feast.
Literally, plot thread like 1B is Prince's character, but trying to go to a feast for 16 episodes. It's amazing, but it's also like what brings about like those quiet moments and like where you really can dive into the deep end of these characters, because something that you pointed out, Maria, is like these aren't your characters' memories, these are yours. You did save the world, you did kill that dragon, like you did eat that spicy food, like that, because that's what your brain is telling you. So it is real, like that's also why like that moment of Tao's death was so jarring for us, because we were so close to figuring it out. We were this close. We were so close to saving them, and then it just didn't happen because things don't work out sometimes. And now it's this like super beautiful story, and there's a whole after school special about that. But like what is always really interesting too is like we spend a lot of time both as GMs and as players like in these other like people's heads, when in a lot of cases it's actually just a reflection of ourselves, or
Absolutely.
like just different aspects of ourselves, sort of like put into like this being, if you will. And I'm curious if anyone's felt like within like someone else's, like, or your character's minds, that changed a mindset that you had about just anything. Like I'll give you an example. When I created Hideaki, like that started out as like my entire neurodivergence into like this being, but what I realized was like that wasn't even like really all that true, and like he is like way more complex than I ever like anticipated him to be. But I also think it was the fact that like I like fell in love with him like super quickly, and he is outwardly very emotional, like all across the spectrum of emotions. And I was like, all right, like I do that, but the difference is like I have the emotional maturity and frankly trauma to not like spout that off, because I'm an adult and he's not really.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, because I was worried, like at a certain point, I was worried that like I was like, is this just like, am I just like self-inserting? And I was like, not even close. But like I was like, but now I'm just like really glad that I have him to play with, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think like I do think that a lot of characters start off at least as like self-inserting, because it's like I think TTRPGs are a great way to explore different aspects about yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it's unintentional, you don't realize that you're doing it when you first create the character. I do think that's, or just even like ideas that you've had that you want to see fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question again, Duval? I'm so sorry. I'm trying to think of like the specific wording of the question.
So essentially, like something that you've learned. It actually ties into essentially what you just said, really.
Yeah.
Because like I would not have figured out that I was bisexual without TTRPGs. I literally, and there's a clip on Meta's channel about this. I was like, oh fuck, this character's bi. That's really cool. Holy shit! And then 2 weeks later, I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's why.
You wanted to, remember like when you were like 15 and you thought that guy's eyes were pretty, and then at 25 you totally kissed that dude. Oh.
Or, you know,
Cool.
our personal favorite of being like, wow, it sure does feel very comfortable to play this character.
Literally,
Huh.
the picture's out of frame, but I've mentioned this multiple times now, and also last season. My character Kay Belton from an Urban Shadows game, one of the first live streams TTRPGs I ever did, was the first time I ever made a non-binary character. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And it was before I even like considered the like I was kind of testing out the like maybe thing. And as soon as I like we got into it and everybody was like finally comfortable with like talking to each other in character, I was like, damn, wait, now I can't go back because this is
That's it.
this is it.
Sure.
I don't know if like any of my characters have really taught me things about myself necessarily, but I do think that like playing these characters, especially on stream, has made me a lot more just confident in my ability to collaboratively tell stories with other people.
You're really good at it.
Well, thank you.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so and like and just like again like just exploring aspects about myself, like again like sometimes unintentionally doing so and then realizing after the fact, oh, this is a part of myself that I am exploring, but I already know that this exists within me.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that like just kind of playing these games kind of like has helped me with just my confidence in general, but also just like being able to like speak to people, because I'm like, you know, anxiety, blah, but like just like being able to just collaborate off the cuff with like new people and like, you know, find common ground with them really quickly. It's helped me with that, definitely.
I could say for me, it's like, you know, being neurodivergent is a stigma that Black men especially struggle with growing up. And
Feelings? We have feelings?
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
And
Hold on for a moment. Let me go see if I left them on the kitchen counter.
and TTRPGs really gives you the option to explore some of that stuff, like within yourself, through character lens. Like I Shade is a great example, and
Love Shade, my
of
favorite
like
character.
all of my ADHD thoughts, the running shit that goes in your head.
Yeah.
And just letting that out in a character and being comfortable with that. Like this character is comfortable with who she is, even with all of the ADHD stuff. She's like, this is just who I am. This is how I work. I'm very open and honest about it, but here's my constant stream of thoughts and you're gonna be a part of it. And if this makes you uncomfortable, I'll step away. I don't have to be a part of it, but I want you to know this is kind of how I am. It's not really under my control. I'm doing my best. And I kind of like have to think about that for myself. I'm like, wow, this is a reflection of me sometimes. I'm doing my best.
I have to say, Shade is my favorite character of yours. And I just think it's like, well, I really love Amir because this is my favorite character. My favorite person. I love this.
And oh, go ahead, please, son.
Like, there was a thing that you were saying here, and I have to wonder about how often this is true, both for other people and for ourselves. Because you put characters in a world where you're just kind of like, it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
It's make-believe. And so when people have things that seem like these outrageous quirks, it's a lot easier for people to be forgiving of whatever comes with those quirks. Because it's kind of like, you know, it's like, it's a game, but it's also like, well, I mean, if we can be like this in a game, maybe we can be like this for some of these things for real. Because this is just a character on 10, but I have this trait for real at like a 2.
Sure.
And if people are willing to deal with that character at a 10 in this game, maybe I'll be able to find community with me being the way that I am at a 2.
Yeah. It's
absolutely.
the sort of things that I've really learned from characters that I've played is to be a little more honest about myself, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I'm a straight dude though. Like, and I'm not like, oh God, straight cis dude. Because that's a lot of men get like straight up like, oh God, people won't like me because I'm straight and I'm not part of the. I'm like, no, listen, I've played a whole gamut of characters that go wildly different than the person I am. And I'm very comfortable with that because I do not feel like I'm making a caricature or a stereotype of the character I'm playing because I actually care about people who aren't like me too. Like I take the time to like actually listen and understand people, so I'm not clowning during the shit. Like Fair can certainly speak to this and this random shit we did in Scum and Villainy, or even in Philly by Night. Like I'm not like, I care about my players and I care about my characters being respectful of the various different types of people that are out there. There's no big monolith of bis and gays and trans people. Like there's a whole gamut of things. And I try to make sure that's reflected and being comfortable with myself makes that a lot easier, because if I was really threatened by playing a character like this, then I couldn't do it.
Right.
Certainly.
And I mean, that just shows like that you as a person care about other people, which is what is needed in TTRPG space, especially when we're dealing with like really sensitive and like potentially triggering topics. Like you have to have a deep level of empathy to deal with these things.
Yeah.
And yes, exactly what Sin said. Like you're a straight dude, but not a straight dude. TM. Which is like, I'm sorry, cis straight men specifically. If you come into somebody show like they're not gonna like me because I'm cis and straight, it's like you're right. I automatically don't like you because you are trying to other yourself when you are absolutely not the fucking other. Shut the fuck up.
Right. Listen.
If I had a Mac Funeral Home fan right now. Beep, beep, beep. But you know, it's like while we're talking about this, I think it was one of those things. I found out that there was a part of myself I was exploring through characters, but I didn't find that out until like several years later. So
the retrospect,
like, the retrospect was like absolutely awful. So like last year for my birthday, it was kind of like, we need to have a look at this Ace thing. And, you know, while we're sitting, like, while my friends talking about, like, just different things that I think about, because we were casually talking about, things like dating and relationships and stuff. And they're just like, I don't know, homie. Like, you might want to look into some stuff, but this sounds like some ace arrow behavior to me. And I'm like, you know, me playing the bard who doesn't seduce anyone.
Hey, we
How
found
many
it.
how many of my characters, including one that I'm currently playing, are like automatons or robots or people who don't particularly have like sexual inclinations or genders in general? I'm just like, right. You know what? I'm gonna go lie down now. Thank you.
Right. Like,
Well, like,
I
Go ahead.
I was just gonna add to that. Like, I don't think that I would have figured out the bisexual stuff if I had not figured out the ace stuff first. Like, it was like, because someone I think had just asked, like, yeah, so like, what's your character's like feelings on this, like sexuality and stuff, and I was just like, what? Can you say that?
Huh?
What? I never considered that. And like, this is a character I at that point I'd been playing for like 2 years, and I was just like, oh right, I oh sure, and then like, and so now it's like, that's something I'll like think about like when I'm creating a character, but like once they're like alive and in the world, like if that so happens, you know, like made a joke earlier before the show about like, my ace ass got hit on and I found it. They're doing the thing. Like, that's the first time that's happened in like 10 years.
I have to say, like, as you guys are talking about that in retrospect, like, I realized that maybe I was like, before I came out as ace, I was like projecting that in my characters, and I did not realize this until now, because a lot of my, like, I'm like Prince, like, where I like all my characters kind of run the gamut, like I'll play whatever.
Yeah.
But like, just think about like a lot of like characters that I like really love and remember, like they really didn't show any sexual inclination, or if they did, it was just like, oh, I gotten to know you and now I really like love you and let's bang. You know, and I was just like realized, like, I think that like without realizing it, playing these characters helped me feel more comfortable with myself. So I lied. I did discover something about myself.
Yay!
It was just
Listen,
after the fact.
Awakening.
Yeah.
That, I
But
mean,
like,
oh, go
yeah.
ahead, please. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think about me and religion and faith, because now the more we were talking about this, the more I've thought about that for characters that I've played and stuff like that. I used to deathly avoid paladins and warlocks and clerics because I was like, fuck religion. I don't want nothing to do with that shit. And really that's just me reflecting my complicated feelings with religion and faith that I have with myself. And
also me.
And the more I started playing characters with this, I was like, I realized I'm doing this every single time I play a character. I was like, why am I doing this? And then I actually started like doing fucking historian thing that I like to do, like exploring how we made up with all these different deities in D&D and other games and stuff like that. Like I went in on this stuff, and I was like, so really I just have been dealing with my own shit with religion, and that's why. And now paladins are like my favorite fucking class. Because I love playing paladins, but it's not even like, I don't even mind playing paladins who's very faithful to a religion. What I was tying to that is why people making war and violence due to religion. And I was like, I don't have to do that. With my characters. And once I realized I didn't have to do that, or not every character had to be this straight-laced, I follow my God's word no matter what they say. If it means like killing a bunch of puppies, I don't care. I'm following my God's word. I'm like, I don't have to play that character. I don't have to play that character.
I have two things. One, sort of kind of jumping back a little bit to like the exploration of self within characters. Like, just think about like, a lot of the characters that I play, again, do represent certain aspects about myself that I want to explore. Like Sophia, for example, from Thirsty Sword Lesbians, was like an exploration of like my anxiety and like some of my existential dread that I feel about like, you know, being alone and things like that. But kind of like Prince talking about paladins specifically, just like made me wonder, and this is slightly off topic, but it's like, I wonder why we always think that paladins have to be associated with a god. Because if you read like the oaths, it has nothing to do with any gods. It's like, I feel I am tied to this cause.
It's virtues. As opposed to, you know, deities.
So like, I enjoy, and me like not really being very religious, I wouldn't say I'm atheist, but it's just like, I don't I just don't care. To be
Agnostic?
honest.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I just don't care. I was like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
Um,
Apathetic is the new
Yeah,
word.
yeah. That's the word.
yeah. But it's just like I like exploring like these classes, like kind of breaking the norms of like the stereotypes of them. Like
Mhm.
Sin was saying, a bard that doesn't seduce. It's like, well, why does a bard have to be seductive? Like bards,
Right.
you're a bard because you like to tell
Yeah.
stories or
Mhm.
create
Right.
art and things like that, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with sex or sexuality. It can, but they're like not tied together at all.
Yeah.
And so I like sort of exploring even like the idea of like these different classes, like looking at them through different lenses, where it's like it does not have to be tied to this, but you could still be you could be a paladin without a god, and
Mhm.
like, and just like, for example, my character Urkira from Dreadful Tales, her whole thing, she's an Oath of Glory paladin. Oath of Glory paladin is literally like, you believe in yourself and your friends.
Yeah.
That is it. That's it.
Yeah.
You believe
I
you
have
all are gonna do dope.
confidence.
Y'all gonna do dope shit, and I like that. Oh, hi, baby. Hi.
Yeah, like Prince's character in Eulalia was like one thing that was really staunch on in early on when we were putting the campaign together was like there are no deities. There is this one like warrior spirit that we could attach to, but like that would be it's something I didn't want to like be like you only have one choice. But what became really super interesting from a storytelling perspective was like how Prince's character's faith in himself and how that tied into April's character and the people around him,
Mhm.
and sort of forced him into this like leadership role, whether he wanted it or not, as like, and then like tying that back into like pacifism and like things like that was like super interesting. And ultimately what we're saying here is like there's very, I almost said no wrong way. There are definitely wrong ways to play things.
Absolutely.
But like
There's no one right way.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like there are multiple avenues in which to tell collaborative stories. And like I look at Eulalia as like my little 6th grade fanfic. Because it's something that actually I don't think I've thanked you, Prince, for this, but something that we were in the middle of, we were wrapping episode 2 and we were kind of in like a little aftercare sort of scenario. And something I was really focused on when we were telling that story was like, this is a world that we're building together. Like it doesn't have to be Redwall as written in 1986, as written in the last book, 2012 and stuff. And something that Prince said to me was like, look, I don't really know anything about these books, but what resonates is that you care about these books a lot, and they mean a lot to you. And passion, when it's radiated in the right way, affects the people around you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sentence, that conversation has stuck with me literally every day since, because that is the power of collaborative storytelling, and that is
Yes.
why we're fucking here.
Absolutely. And I'll have to say, like, the campaigns that I remember the most and think fondly of are the ones where, like, the DM had a lot of passion for the story that they were telling, but also passion for, like, helping the players tell their own stories too.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, I think, like, there's a stereotype, and maybe this was true in, like, earlier editions of different games where it's like, it's DM versus player. And it's like,
Yeah.
it absolutely
adversarial,
should
yeah.
not be DM versus. The DM is just a facilitator of the story, and they play all the characters that you are not playing because
Don't.
you know they have to build the fucking world. You can't just
Yeah.
be in a goddamn like a vacuum, just running around doing nothing. But it's like when you kind of get past that sort of stereotype and like you start working with your storyteller and also with other player characters, like you are going to tell a fantastic fucking story no matter where it goes. Like Philly by Night, bonkers, but we're telling a fantastic fucking story.
I mean,
We all
yeah,
give a shit.
the
Yeah.
world is against
Sc-
you in that game, but y'all know that I, as the GM, I'm not against you. I try to let
No.
y'all do dope shit whenever I possibly
Yeah.
can. The
Mhm.
world
Sure.
may be
Talk
dark
about
and
that.
trying to fuck you up, but I'm not trying to fuck you up. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
over
exactly.
here like, let me plot your demise
Right.
as the GM
Right.
every time. No.
Yeah.
And like no no campaign should be like that. And let me tell you, if you find yourself in a campaign where the DM is
Get the fuck
actively
out.
working
Get the fuck
against
out.
you, it's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah.
And you'll
We
find
talk
other
about
DMs
that
out there who
really
actually
well.
give a shit about your
Yeah.
fucking characters.
Yeah, Sin, what do you gotta say?
No, like this, like first thing, all of y'all are like an entire vibe, and this is why I like playing games with y'all. But
Hell
but also a certain thing I may have noticed. You know, when I play with people and you like in a game setting and you present people with conflict, there is always a type of pattern I notice between the people who just go, I'm gonna go off on my own and or like try to fight things and take on the world on my own, and people who go, okay, well, how do we either help each other in this situation or how do we help people in this situation? Like basically, how do we come together and cooperate to do things?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have like a party, but it's like 4 individual people also play that just happen to be playing a game in the same place versus like a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, there's great stories to be told and how that group comes together,
Yes.
as long as they come together.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
It's
it's
the fact
that.
that people want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
players,
it's the
like-
players wanting to be.
Yeah. It's like,
As players, you know, or you should know that your characters they're strangers. They might not get along. They might want to do
Right.
their individual things. But you as players, hopefully, have talked about like, all right, we as players, we're vibing, we're here, we're good, we're fine
Right.
with this mess pointing to all the characters and what
Yeah.
they have to deal with because of their choices. But we know eventually we want them to be
Yeah.
what like we are out of game.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
Because-
that's something that like can be sort of usually I'll say, because I'm sure there's instances where it doesn't like overcome with like a really thorough session 0. Like, what do you
Yeah, yeah.
want as a character, and also having one-on-one conversations with the DM so they can help facilitate those
Well, I mean,
stories, right?
And
Right.
this is the wild thing about
safety
that
tools.
trend. Oh, sorry. Continue.
I was just gonna say, and safety tools as well. Like those
Yeah.
help
Correct.
like overcome these sort of
Oh, yeah.
those sort of issues where like, and hopefully for most people, like if you have a table of like 4 fucking edgelords, having a session 0 where you're intentionally playing them, but you know eventually this is where you want to come to as a group.
Right.
Like you need that. You have to have that. Otherwise, that's just gonna fall apart and nobody's gonna be happy.
Yeah, you want to have growth at some aspect, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about how, like, in like kind of tabletop spaces at large, how there is, from what I can see, a direct correlation between the more combative player against GM style of playing in the mainstream, and then the point at which more marginalized genders and identities and people will hit the game, and then the emergence of things like safety tools and games where people have to cooperate to do things, and they have to be intentional about that cooperation, and frameworks for how to have those discussions so that everybody gets what they want out of the game, and it doesn't feel like people are being attacked. And I'm just like, you know, if we want to talk about general Black and brown excellence in this space, let's talk about how it made the whole game more fun in the first place just to have us here.
You are not
Hello.
wrong in any way.
Amen.
Right. Right.
100%.
Right. Yeah,
Like I gotta
correct.
say, from my personal
No notes.
yeah, from me personally. So I, growing up, I did not grow up around any BIPOC people. It was basically like the most other colored person was my brother, and we had the same the same coloration.
Right.
And so when I got introduced to the TTRPG online community and I got to sit at a table, I bring this up literally every single time, but last year I got to sit at a table with all Hispanic people.
So cool.
I legitimately throughout the entire night almost cried 1,000 times. So I'm like,
Yeah.
and then being able to play with people like Fair and like Duval, and I think we played a game together, Prince and Sin. I know we are, and I think we did. There's so many games in my brain. I played at least one thing with all of you at least once. You all bring to the table something that literally cannot be replicated, and it is this like this. I can't put it into words. And it's not that you just happen to be a different like facial color. It's everything that goes with your black and brown and everything and all that. The culture you bring with it, the experiences that you have, you cannot replicate that. You cannot.
Yeah.
And it just makes the games, the stories, and the tables better.
Yep.
Better.
It's true.
I think too. I 100% agree with that. I am fantastic. We're all fantastic.
You
Though,
are.
I'll be honest.
Listen.
a lot of times when people say like, "Oh my God, Fair, you're such a great like player," I'm just like baffled because I'm like, half the time I'm over here, I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I just said words just came out of my mouth. I don't know what I just said.
Yep, I blacked out. What did I say?
To remember.
Yeah. But like, I do think like a lot of that has to do with just like, because we are black and brown people, having to tell stories with intention, because like we do live in a world where like we are basically politicized from the second that we're born.
Yeah.
So like we live with that experience and we bring that experience into the characters that we play, because one, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I just want to explore this because it's not something that like, just given the world, the nature of the world and the state of the world that we live in, it's like, this is something I could talk about all the time, but I could talk about it here at this table because I've had discussions with these people and I trust them to like help me tell the story and to like be part of the story as well. And I think that has a lot to, like, for me at least, that has a lot to do with my playstyles, like being able to like tell these stories that like we often don't get to tell or don't get to see in media. It's getting better now these days, obviously, but like still, like we all grew up where it's like, oh, I gotta watch 3 shows with little white people. Okay, great. Actually, I have to take that back, because back when we were kids, the content was dope. There were shows. And then it moved away from that, which is weird, because we had like Gullah Gullah Island. We had me and my brother.
We had
Family Matters. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like we had a lot of stuff.
Like there was stuff.
Minetti,
Shit, you know, before the WB bought UPN, we had a station, y'all.
Shout out to UPN. Literally about to say that. Yeah. Shout out to UPN.
But like, we still lived in like a society where like, you know, there really weren't any black superheroes. There was like Spawn, but like, and there was Blade, the original Blade. But it's just like,
yeah, but those are also like partially monster characters when you really think about it.
Exactly.
That's also true.
And so it's just one of those things where it's like, now as an adult and like being able to acknowledge these things, because as a kid you don't really, I think you know that something's off, but you don't really understand why it's off. But now like having the understanding, it's like, oh well, now I can explore this and I can make my character great because I deserve it to be frank. This is what I deserve. Hi, baby. Okay, yes.
I literally, like, I remember, no, you're good. I remember having a conversation with my dad when I was young, probably still in elementary school. And we were talking about the fact that, like, especially since, like, I was one of maybe 2 black kids in my 2 or 3 black kids in my class. And then even in high school, when I graduated with a class of about 450 kids, I'm one of maybe 15 or 20 black kids. And my dad really like ingrained in me that like, not only do you have to be the best in class, you have to be better than the best in class because of who you are and what you represent, to the point where I think I would tone down my loudness and tone down my blackness to be accepted. Lots of head nods for the audio listeners later, because that's just the reality of the situation.
Twice as hard for half as much.
Exactly. And to the point where like I did not appreciate representation until I went to go see Black Panther, and I have never cried more in my entire life than recognizing that T'Chaka looked a lot like my dad, and that was a little too close to home. And then when Killmonger drops that line about the Mayflower, and I was like, okay, fucking death.
Black Panther was like, for black people, a cultural phenomenon. Because we had never had that for us before,
was
where it
ours.
was like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
hyped. It was, and to the point where it's like, I mean, we had like black characters and black like
Yeah, sure,
protagonists,
sure.
but like
But it is
for that being
all it's like
that
all
being
black. There's a token
Yeah.
All
white
black.
person.
Yeah.
all black people.
Yeah.
There's 2 token whites, but also
Yeah.
just like how much it was hyped up, how much money and production and care went into
Yeah.
it.
It wasn't
And
just an
just, like,
afterthought.
Yeah.
It wasn't just an after, and for it to be part of like one of the biggest franchises,
Yes.
and be one of
Yep.
the most successful movies of that franchise. Like it was just one of those things where it's like, even thinking about it to this day, like makes me emotional knowing that it exists out there. And like
For real.
I saw that shit like 5 times in theaters because
Me
I was
too.
like,
Same.
take all my
I
take
will
all my
make
coins.
time.
I was like, I will make sure this makes fucking money.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Into the
But-
Spider Verse is also another one like that too.
Into the Spider-Verse, yeah. But here's the thing, but it kind of shows like black and brown people, we will put our money where we want it to be put. And like
Sure.
we absolutely like, we showed up for Black Panther,
Yeah.
like, and it was amazing, one of the best movies of the franchise, but it also just was like, it was so good to see like not just black protagonists, but dark skinned and like also just
Yeah.
variations of skin tone
yes.
represented on the screen, because you
Definitely.
in this world you definitely never see a dark-skinned person as a protagonist, as a superhero. It's always some kind of stereotype, and so like
And not dark skinned women.
dark-skinned women,
Yes.
especially dark-skinned women,
Yeah.
and to see all of them just be like, everybody's fantastic, even like when they're betraying each other, because it's very nuanced and like
That was the
There's
part I was
nuance
getting
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's when I first saw Black Panther, there was a moment in the theater where I like kind of pulled myself out of the movie and I was like, this is a fucking Marvel movie, because it didn't feel like
Right.
a Marvel movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
actually
Also-
had a story to tell. Go
Yeah.
ahead,
What were
Sid.
you saying, Sam?
I was going to say, can we also talk about how often I spent time looking at this and thinking about what was not in the movie?
Mm.
So when I say things that weren't in the movie, things like it wasn't about like people being like half the movie wasn't people being miserable and like living like
Yep.
in like terrible situations or impoverished situations,
Right.
and it
Having
wasn't
all
like
everybody's
a,
shit
like,
getting destroyed.
based around
Yeah.
like black trauma. It was just like we have cool tech and everyone lives in a place where like everyone has the stuff that they need and they
You're
get along
powerful.
well and they have
You're
normal
got
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
human problems
Yes.
of just being like getting along with their neighbors maybe, or like getting along with their sisters and brothers, and there are plot complications, but every single one of them is just like, you understand, we will just beat the brakes off of you and keep it right on
Right.
moving, right?
But,
Right.
but also,
Mhm.
like, you mentioned black trauma, but like, it was a black trauma, but it wasn't like shown through the lens of like a white person. It was shown like this,
Yes.
we are telling our own
Yes.
story, and it's
Yes.
very nuanced, because like, let's be honest, Killmonger was fucking right. He went about it the wrong
was
way.
right.
He was right.
Took that
Mm.
shit
absolutely
way
right.
to the wrong space.
Yeah,
When I say
exactly.
things like black
ART.
trauma, it's the difference between black, okay, like to give you a like point of reference.
No, we're not
Like-
slaves. We're not.
like,
Yeah.
Well, like we're not slaves, right? It's sort of like Killmonger as a character versus like
Incredible.
a Tyler Perry movie.
Yes.
Mm.
Bye.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
No, you
no,
got it.
you're
Like,
right. You're
nailed
absolutely
it
right.
on.
Yes. But and like, again, just like the nuances of us telling our own stories and like
Yeah.
having the space to do that, and like being able to touch on things like the diaspora and how like black Americans and black people who are out of Africa feel a disconnect from that culture that should be ours,
Certainly.
because we were taken
That
away from
part-
it.
Oh my
Mhm.
god.
Yep.
I say
Like-
this to bring it back to TTRPGs. When I sit down at tables with a storyteller like Duval, I promise you my consent checklist looks way different than when I have a white GM.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
100%.
I'm just
100%.
saying.
100%.
My
Yes.
consent
Goodbye.
checklist looks different depending on who
Yeah.
I have telling
Okay.
the stories.
Yes.
Right.
It's not because my lines and boundaries are not necessarily changing. It's just that I trust this person will be more respectful of the topics that they're covering and covering them with more nuance.
Which
Right.
I won't,
Exactly,
and without me having
yes.
to beg them to do that. For example,
Right.
me with the checklist every time I come to police.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That
Because,
whole
like-
section for me is basically a no. Like most of that section is a no for me.
I'm
Like,
gonna be,
no,
I'm gonna
I'm
be real
good.
with y'all. Like if you haven't seen me in one of your games, have to fill out a checklist. Except I think Duval definitely has.
I
I have.
That section is always yellow with the note that if you put this in the game, hands will be thrown. If you don't want me to set your game on fire, don't do
don't
it.
do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
I
think
know
I have
the
to,
consequences of my action.
yeah. I feel like Amir and I have gone to a part where like I don't need to say it because it's like, oh, I'm just gonna kill this character.
You gotta go.
There's a cop getting in my character's business. They dead by the end of the
I know
session.
what I'm doing.
Not
What
for
I'm
long.
doing. I know what I'm doing.
Not for long.
Yeah, yep.
But Charles, the way that I see certain DMs and like my whole body just relaxes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Same thing with
Uh-huh.
like party people, and I'm just like, y'all aren't gonna argue with me about whether or not I think the guard bullying homeless people is appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I had a discussion with Legal Kimchi, and we were talking because Kimchi's big into history and stuff like that, and I'm a
Yeah,
big
yeah, yeah.
historian. And I said, you know, I'm not against playing in a game that is historically this is where we were in a space like that.
Mhm.
But if you're just gonna have me walking around a fucking trauma simulator, I'm not about that life.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
You want me to play Nat Turner and fuck some shit up? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could do that in a game with the right GM.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I trust you to actually understand where you are and on this topic and how to cover that with nuance. But
Exactly.
most people that I sit on tip, absolutely not. And I wish you
Right.
would even bring that shit up to me.
I really
and
wish you would.
And you could be like, well, that's not fair because you have two drastically different ways of thinking of this. But it is really about who's telling the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt.
I mean, there's that, and then there's also too, like, quite honestly, if you're watching at home as a DM or even as a player, hey, friendly reminder, we didn't have to be traumatized, right? So,
No.
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
if you decide to introduce something to me, sure, we have two different perspectives, but one of
Mhm.
us has cold sweats when we see police officers in the background of our cars when we drive down the road, and one of us doesn't. So when it comes to a discussion of those perspectives, I'm sorry, it's just like kind of not really a debatable thing for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me a white woman crossed the street because my character walked down the street. I live with
Right.
that every day. I don't need
Every
you
day.
to do
Happens every
that
day.
in a
Mhm,
game.
mhm.
That is not
Right.
even a necessary detail.
Right.
Leave that shit out of my game.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Right.
And you know what? Just for that, I wasn't gonna rob her. Now I am.
Now I'm about to go up in
okay.
them
Now I
pockets,
am.
like-
Yeah.
This is like, you know what?
I'm
Sleight of
crossing
hand
that
check,
street.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, I agree with Amir where it's like there are certain DMs that I trust more than others, and it's like no shade, but you just do not have the experience. And you know what? Some of y'all probably a little shade, to be honest. Like I'm not naming
Yeah, for sure.
and
There's some
then
shade.
I'm not naming I'm not naming any names. That
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
thinking about anybody specifically, but like
Yeah.
if you feel
they're out
uncomfortable
there.
with this topic
They're
right
out
now, you're one of them. So
Yeah. The
There's
truth
But
a
it's
is-
just like-
There's a reason we started rolling these 20s. This is an all BIPOC group
No
Yeah.
on purpose,
No doubt.
with
No doubt.
intention.
yes.
Mhm.
Right.
And, like,
Actually, can we?
Yeah,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Fair, sorry.
I was just gonna say,
I was
like,
gonna
you-
say. It's bound to happen eventually. It was bound to happen.
Okay.
It was
It's
gonna
bound to
happen.
What I was gonna say was like you mentioned like certain games where you would feel comfortable playing in like Nat Turner and whatnot. I remember us talking briefly for Rolling D20s about playing that American Revolutionary game.
I'm
don't
still
remember what it's
talking
called.
about Flames of Freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, and the first thing I said was, "Can I beat up the founding fathers?" And Prince said, "Yes, you can."
Of
And I
course.
said, "Let's go."
Let's go.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just want to beat
Exactly.
Thomas Jefferson's ass.
Yes, that's it. That's it. That's it. Fuck that guy. Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, because when I started out in this space very selfishly because it was just like my 1 week of the game was not enough. There's an internet. I like internet. There's a community. Cool. I'm just gonna pop my black ass in here and just like hello, hi. But I also recognize that like I didn't see anyone that looked like me really at all.
Mhm.
Right now, of course, like I don't like when did Rolling D20 start? Like
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's closing on 3 years,
Right.
honestly.
Closing on
Yeah.
2019. Listen, y'all.
2019.
Side
Yeah.
tangent. 2019. That was revolutionary for like literally all of these. Every person on the TTRPG space
2019.
on this show.
I think it was
2019.
August 2019.
But
Yeah.
it was 2019 for me.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Continue.
So essentially what we're talking about is like individually though, that like wave of like, we are going to jump in the deep end of the pool, and just put our floaties on and figure out what the fuck we're gonna do and the stories that we're gonna tell, right?
Mhm.
And it was like, I accepted. They want to tell stories with me. They still want to tell stories with me. Oh, what a bad decision they've made. This is great. But I also think this actually ties back to Fair's point about confidence. Is like, I'm a really, I know this is like super shocking to everyone that knows me, very confident person. The one thing that I was not confident, I know, shocking. What a twist.
Before we started this, you were shaking and crying and anxious. So I don't know.
I was like, oh my god, the red button is on. What are we gonna do? The only thing I was not confident about was my GMing, and then Duval and Dragons happened, and Eulalia 5e has happened, and charity streams, and like just like at bat after at bat after at bat, and now I'm even terrified because like now I'm scared of my own confidence now because it's just like let's just go, like I throw me in into like a situation where like there is no planning, all improv, go. Like you told me that 3 years ago, I'm shitting my pants. Told me that now. And me and Chris talk about this, like about like charity streams specifically, but it's just like, oh, this is easy. Like
this is light work.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I have a question. Did all of you start in 2019 in the TTRPG space?
In the online TTRPG space.
Yeah, online
Yeah.
TTRPG.
Yep.
Same,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Probably
Not me.
Probably like right around the year 2018 or 2019. But that's also one of those things of like, that was around the time that like a handful of people were like also asked me to do other things that, and I know that this is on the list, so I'm just going to throw this in here.
Yeah.
Things that I wouldn't imagine people asking me, not because I don't think I have like good ideas or things to like offer to the space, but because I didn't think other people would be interested in them. So I'm in here writing a Twitter thread and like, Deep Hangway appears in my DMs and is kind of like, hey, I like the way that you think about tabletop games. Have you ever written for one before? No. Would you like to?
There you go.
And it's just like, wait, but me though? Are you sure? Because like the things I want to talk about
Did you message the wrong
like,
person?
Yeah.
well, like at the time, right? It was also things like, it's not like I've been like on a whole bunch of shows. I don't have any credits to anything. I just think that wizards should be useful and druids should have pet owl bears. And like barbarians should have, like barbarians should be the sterling example for what good therapy does for you.
Exactly.
Incredible.
I want you to know, I actually mean that because your ability to go, I think rage is the appropriate response at this moment and not at other times. Good therapy.
That's good therapy.
Yeah. It's literally good therapy. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so for someone to ask me that was also things like things that I never thought I would do. And now it's things like, I'm writing for like Into the Motherlands, and I'm involved in things like Ampistrano, where people were just like, we would like to see you do more things. Like you couldn't have told me that was happening 3 years ago and had me be like, oh, okay, this is actually a serious thing.
Oh, same boat. Same boat.
Yeah.
Talking to people at Gen Con,
same.
it really threw me off because I'm thinking about like when I started rolling these 20s, like, and I with Liz and Ivy, it was literally just out of fucking anger. I was pissed off. Like the whole idea was me being pissed at the fucking world. Because when I looked up and I saw other people playing these games, I'm like, white table, white table, white table, white table, white table. And then my friends over here at Rivals of Waterdeep, and I'm like, then white table, white table, white table. I'm like, this shit.
Yeah.
I'm doing something different. Y'all in? Because this is about to happen.
Right.
So the reason why I asked is because like I really didn't start online TTRPG until like last year because of pandemic.
Surprising. Like it's so good. You're so good though.
And out here doing magic.
You were 2020 when you came into rolling these 20s.
Was it 20? No.
I think it was like end of 2020.
Maybe.
I mean, that's basically 2021.
When was the first? That's basically 2021. But like and you might be right. Time is nothing.
Yep.
But like what I
Never
was
heard
saying
of
was
it.
like I had been playing for like a year before I like pandemic brought me to Twitch because I was like, oh my god, like I would
need
never
something.
without pandemic I would not have been on Twitch because I was like listening to Rivals of Waterdeep and stuff and like
Same.
I had gotten caught up and so I was like, okay, I can watch their live stuff now. And that kind of spiraled from there. But like me actually playing online, like in like streams and stuff, was like I feel like I literally just sort of tripped into it because I was kind of a nobody and somebody approached me like, do you want to be in a charity thing? And I was like, sure, I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing, but sure, why not? And then
Yeah.
it just sort of spiraled from there because it was just like, and again, it's one of those things where it's like, you guys like me for some reason. That's great. I don't know what I'm doing 95% of the time.
That's the secret. Nobody does.
But yeah, exactly. But it's just like it's one of those things where it's like I always find it interesting how long other people have been in this space because it's I don't know. I'm always just still so very surprised that people want to invite me to their tables. But also just like to all your points, just like having just random people pop into your DMs like, do you want to do this? Like when I was invited to be on Dragon Talk, I'm like, I am literally a
That's so
fucking
cool.
nobody. Why am I here?
Right.
Like, I don't understand, but okay, but also, and like having I think my episode came out right after the episode with Brendan Lee Mulligan, and I was
Yeah,
like,
it was right after the episode with
There you
Brennan.
go.
What am I doing here? Amazing.
no, literally. I even think I even say on the episode, I'm like, I don't actually know why I'm here.
Yeah. And me and Maria talked about this at length at PAX U. It's just like, what are we doing here? Why are we here?
Yeah.
But it's like it's also like the realization that this space is so small. Like I was at GameHole Con and I'm like, Matthew Lillard's right next to me and B. Dave Walters is over here and like what are we doing? What am I doing? What? But the reality is like you belong here because you're good at what you do. And it's not just to fair, this is to everybody, and this is to the people out there too. Like you are good at what you do. If you care about the people around you and you're having a good time, you're doing something right. And here's the thing: people that you don't think are watching are watching. And I'm talking at
That
the
part.
very top
That
level
part.
of this, right? And that's why they're in your DMs but for better or for worse, people are talking. That's why, I never imagined having my own channel. I never imagined saying the words founder or co-founder of anything. I never imagined people would want to come to watch me do something or even pay me to do something. I've always thought I was a shitty writer, and then people started paying me saying otherwise. Okay.
Can we talk about that feeling though?
Yeah, very strange, but like also like it doesn't get much more rewarding and what's that, the word isn't endearing, but like validating is the word than that. And it's just like I just had a Kickstarter just launch and be successful, which is fucking weird. And gonna start working on that. Gonna start working on some stuff for Pathfinder that I can't talk about yet. Like it's just like, what are we even talking about here?
Also,
How did I get
that
here?
we can't talk about. Like imagine being at that level of anything.
Right?
Right, which even 2-3 years ago when I literally started playing like D&D, like had not really played before and I played slightly out of curiosity and also because all of my friends were talking at me about it and I was like, oh my god. It was either constantly telling them to constantly shut the fuck up or just seeing what the fuck was going on.
In me.
And like, well, not even like about their games, but like just like games that they were watched. I would get talked at about Critical Role a lot, and like, I mean, I still get talked at about it because I do not watch.
Yeah.
But it's just like one of those things like, okay, well, let me see what the fuck's going on. But also, I feel left out because all my friends are playing this game, and I'm just like just standing there like the fucking like that straight armed emoji.
Right.
But like to that Farron. Looking back, she would literally have never realized that I would be like in a space meeting so many different people, being able to play with so many different people, and like have like I say this a lot. Making friends when you're in your 30s, impossible.
Bruh.
Impossible
Yeah.
to do.
Impossible.
Right.
Impossible to do. But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
because I found this space and I found a lot of like-minded people, like I have made friends and like a lot of people that I like are very near and dear to my heart. Like I love and when I tell people that I love them, I 100% mean that. So please don't think I'm being facetious.
With
I'm
my
like,
whole
I
heart.
say I love you, because I do not love that easily. So,
Yes.
but just like it's just like, and being able to find not even just like people, but like people who look like me in this space, because one of my problems with D&D and why I never got into it before, even though it's like it's definitely something that's up my fucking alley, it's because like every time I looked at it, even in pop culture, I'm like, it is very white.
Mhm.
Like I remember a couple years ago, like a certain like game group came to our local con, and I looked at their like guest list, and I was like, why is it literally all white people? It is like
Mhm.
12 white people. I don't understand.
Mhm.
Like, you mean to tell me they don't have a single black friend?
Not one. Not one.
Mhm.
Not a
not
single
one,
one?
not one.
Nope.
Not now.
And like,
No season.
yeah, and like, but also like having to have that conversation with my white friends who are fans of this thing and being like, listen, I understand you love it, but that's a lot of white people,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
And like,
Like-
and I'm looking at their Wikipedia, and the only time they have people of color on there is if it's a guest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you mean?
Or in February.
And-
Or
Yeah.
in
Or in
February.
February.
Or I was say, or Juneteenth.
Juneteenth now. Juneteenth is the thing now, so now they get to capitalize on that shit.
Don't come find me then. Don't
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't
look
do
at
it.
me. Yeah.
I do
But it was
open
just,
all year round,
like-
bitch.
Yeah,
I will roast you.
Let's go
That
ahead
was-
and tell you this right now. If you pull up in any of our DMs in January of 2023 to ask
We'll find
us to be a special guest for literally anything, we are going to tell you no in the most publicly embarrassing fashion possible.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't.
That's going
I will
back.
put that
No,
whole
no.
ass
On main.
DM out
No,
there.
no, hold on.
On
Nothing
main.
blanked out. Like,
I gotta say this though. How much that check gonna be though? Cause don't get in my
Yo!
bag.
okay,
Don't get in my
there,
bag.
there is a small
Yeah.
caveat to that.
Okay, cool.
There's a small
Asterisk.
caveat.
Asterisk.
How many zeros
How many zeros
are gonna be on that
Okay.
check?
Right, all right.
So
I
here's
know
the
a
thing.
few of y'all gotta go
Yeah.
before we go down another rabbit
We
hole.
we
Before
have
we get going.
we have like 10 minutes. We're good.
I'm just going to say about the check line. The only reason why I didn't mention that as a caveat is because most of the time, like every other thing, they're just like,
Right.
but the representation is so good. Surely
We're
we would
gonna
want
pay
to
you nothing to be-
absolutely not."
Exposure.
We're gonna
We
pay you
have
nothing for being
this
a token.
audience, this
And I'm-
giant audience of people who don't watch anything with anyone like you in it, and
Yeah.
it's going to expand.
Um,
No,
yeah,
it's not.
no,
I
It's
have
not
I
gonna do
have
anything
a
for
I
me.
have
Yeah.
I have a tokenism fee. It is $500 per 30
There you
minutes.
go.
Mhm.
So,
Booyah.
Yeah.
That's my
and this
fee.
is a 3-hour stream.
Mm,
Do the math, boo boo.
Make it
Do the math, boo boo.
Make it rain.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's a fee for tokenism, and you got to pay me up front. By the way,
Yeah.
I'm not getting that shit after the fact. Up
Yeah.
front, I got
One.
bills to pay.
Yeah. One other thing that I think is really, especially for like all of us that are here, like all five of us, is there are people in this space that all look up to us and all look to try to get like advice and mentorship and things like that. And that's something that I'm still wrapping my head around a little bit. And it's like, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm really good at just saying all of my opinions really loudly on main. So you don't have to worry. But it's the combination of like, oh yeah, like we're really good at this, and people look up to us. That is still like that's the maybe
That's
the
trippy.
top of the shocking aspect of things.
Yeah.
And the thing is like as we continue, like and think about it, for the most part we've only been doing this for 3 years. It feels like a lot longer, at least in my opinion.
Same.
But
Mhm.
think about what happens in year 6 and 7 if we continue on the same trajectory that we're talking about here, right?
If I'm not on Dimension 20, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah. We're not there. Fair. You and I there together 3 years from
Yeah.
now. Let's go.
Let's go.
How about
Hashtag goals.
this whole group?
That's
This
the
whole
goals.
group.
This whole table
group.
right here.
I,
Let's go.
I said my
Plus
goal is to do it in a
April.
year. I did not. I'm not changing that.
Let's go. Let's go.
See, Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, no, the thing that you said about like people looking up to you, like that's like a trippy thing to me because
Yeah.
like I don't think that way. Like there are people that I admire and that's great, but like I will never see people as being on a pedestal above me in this
Same.
space because it's like
yeah.
we're peers, we're all doing the same shit.
We're all
And,
human
like,
beings.
you're-
We're just all humans.
Human beings,
Yeah.
and like
We're just
your
stuff.
levels and like somebody else's level of success has nothing to do with like
That's true.
me. You know what I mean? So like I just
That's
like if you look up to me, that's great, but also like you're probably great in your own right and you just don't realize it yet because like
Right.
it don't
Or you just
like-
haven't had the stage yet either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
or
Yeah.
the support or anything. Yeah.
yeah
I
and
think
like
if any,
and like I think it's there's a danger to in it to a certain extent to look up to people and like hero worship them
Yeah.
and stuff because then you
That's
put
true.
them on a pedestal and like when they let you down it's devastating.
Jarring.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you forget that they are people and
We're
not like
humans. We're fallible. We are
gods.
going to mess up.
not
Yep.
yeah exactly. So it's like
In messy ways.
if you admire the things I do, that's great, but please do not look up to me as like a hero or anything like that because
Yeah.
like everybody I'm a messy ass bitch and I'll be the first one to tell you that.
Same.
I am
feel like
full on
it-
Capricorn, baby.
anybody's going to.
I'm an
Go ahead, Sid. I'm
I
sorry.
was going to say, if anybody's like looking up to me for anything, at most, what you should get from that is this could also be you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
You
That's
can just
the-
be here.
that's the-
There's enough room for you.
Yep.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Because a
Jump
lot
on
of
that.
times,
That's why
I
we're
think a lot of
in this
people
space.
feel like it's just
Exactly.
has to be the big people. Like there's a handful of big people who do all of the things, and maybe if you get their attention at some point, maybe. And it's like no, like there's room for you.
The platform
as
is
a player
not this
and your
big.
ideas and
The
everything.
platform is this
Like,
big.
it's not
Yeah.
this.
And I'm
The
seeing it
universe is
here.
Yeah.
the universe is
Right.
really big. It's not one
Yeah.
game or one group of people.
Yep.
Yeah. And the platform is very big, but like honestly, like for the most part, if you just approach people like they're people, they will
People
also
will wanna
treat
work
you
with
like
you.
I will
people
keep
and they
saying
would
this
want to
over
work
and
with
over
you.
again.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
like I mean like one of the like the kindest people I know is Cypher Tier Tanya DePass.
Agreed.
I have her phone number, boo boo. Like and
Mhm.
like I've never played anything with
The
her.
numbers
like
in my
we just
phone
chit chat and stuff.
Is fucking
It's-
weird, man.
And before you get it twisted, don't be going. First of all, don't call her Tanya unless she's giving you permission to do so.
Yep.
Don't ask her for her phone number; she will curse you out, and I
Absolutely
will.
not.
And I will slide into your DMs to also curse you out after the fact.
Because that's
Okay.
a clown shit.
Why
That's
would you
clown
do
shit.
that? That's yeah. Whack.
You would be surprised. But like,
Apparently.
it's one of those things where it's like the people that you think are up here are actually like they don't see themselves that way,
Nope.
and like
Yeah.
they are
Exactly.
approachable as people.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
just
Yeah.
treat them like fucking people.
that
'Cause
I
they're
think is the best. We're gonna swan
Yeah.
dive out of here gracefully with
Yeah.
exactly what you said, Fair, and it is treat people like
Well
people
said.
because literally everyone in this call, we're all gorgeous and wonderful and excellent at what we do. We are just people, though. So
people.
Yeah.
treat us with the bare dignity that a human being deserves, and then some, because we're great people. Like we're great people, and it's not pretentious to say that, especially in this space. Like we all know we can all hype each other up, and we can all be
And we-
better
and
at
we do.
hyping ourselves up. We can be better at being our own fans too. So
Yeah.
be our
Yeah.
fans, so we can be our own fans.
And also, I will say, like, if you're excited to play with us, that's great. Chances are we are very
We're
excited to play with you too, and we just want
Exactly.
to like so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I want to absolutely. This has been. I've been literally. I told this group that this was the first group that I thought of, and Fair, you stepped in beautifully, and I'm kicking
Just
myself for not including you in the first thought, because like, why not? But like, this was literally the first group of people that I was like, I want to have these people on season 2.
Yeah.
I want to
Well-
have specifically this is what I wanted. So
Yeah.
thank you all. Like,
Thank
my
you
God.
for having us.
Good,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, audience, I was not joking when I said I invited myself. I said, Maria, when am I going to be on your fucking podcast?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm the fool because you should have been there from the beginning. But I wanna make sure that people can find all of y'all and all the fucking magnificent support these people, y'all. It's not hard. Do it and do it a lot all the time because like your table will be better if you have one and or all of these people at it. The end.
Truth.
It's truth. We only speak truth at this channel.
But if I'm gonna be the only black person, you better pay me.
Yeah,
Oh,
correct.
boy.
Absolutely correct.
Listen.
Absolutely correct. But I want to make sure people can find you. So I would like for y'all to tell people where they can find you on the internet. If you have anything that you want to plug, either ongoing or upcoming, etc., something things you're excited about, please tell people. I would love to start with Sin, if you are comfortable.
Why would you do this? Oh, I'm kidding. It's perfectly fine.
Sorry.
So, hi, it's me, Sin of the He and They. Places that you can find me, literally in like what, 30 to 45 minutes or so on Ampistrano on Saturday. D&D Jordan.
2 months from now, sure.
Can also find me in an upcoming campaign with Anorian based on
Listen, I'm
Final
so
Fantasy
excited.
Tactics.
So excited.
Oh my god, what is
Cannot
it?
It starts on the last Tuesday, the last Monday of this month. So,
Yep.
So by
Fantasy
October,
Tactics.
this will be
It'll be-
hot and
It'll
spicy.
be almost over,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
so
Go catch up, y'all.
We're gonna have plenty of things to look forward to if you have played Final Fantasy Tactics, which is like my favorite game from the whole Final Fantasy series. Period. Then you're going to enjoy this. And aside from that, you can also find me on Twitch on Tuesdays, and you can find me on, surprisingly, Sinziek.com, because I have a website where I do long form writing and stuff, because like writing these Twitter threads about why I think things should be different sometimes takes a while, and y'all are tired of seeing these 20-point threads from me.
I am not. I am
I'm
not.
not. I'm absolutely
Listen,
not.
Sen, I'm learning from you. I'm not doing this shit in threads on Twitter no more. I'm not doing it.
Beautiful, wonderful. Bless everyone. Go follow Sin. Duval.
Hey, Jacob Plick is the IRL name. Duval King Jacob on the interwebs everywhere, Twitch and Instagram, and what, not Twitch actually, Twitter and Instagram, because Twitch, my home, is the Amphitheater, where by now, Tuesdays, you could find me at 8 p.m. Eastern time over there for Fields of Wonder, our Teldora campaign. Wednesdays, Duval's Gaming Journey, where I play retro video games and talk about storytelling. Thursdays, either bi-weekly Blood In, Blood Out, our Blaze in the Dark campaign, which actually might have wrapped by then, so there may be something else happening over there by now. But something that will definitely be happening is the other Thursday, Outcast and Outclass, which I'm in with Maria. It's just a wonderful storytelling, lots of trauma and crying, but in a great storytelling way. It's awesome. So you should definitely check that out. Fridays, Fables, which might be almost over.
It will
by
be
this
wrapped.
point. That will be wrapped. Well,
Go watch
whatever.
it,
It's
though.
on
Go
YouTube.
watch
Go
it.
watch
Yeah.
it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Watch it.
Matter
On
of fact,
First
watch
Studios.
Eulelia Favia Redwall story on YouTube as well.
It's a very good
Vince
story.
is incredible in that. And of course, my mainstay, Duval and Dragons, based off of my favorite video game behind me, Chrono Trigger. That's bi-weekly on Sundays, and then Dragonlance Dragons of Rebirth on the opposite Sundays. I'm not doing a lot or anything. And they're actually going to be, probably by that point, a new show with me and Maria in it. Well, what is that? Can't talk about it yet.
I'm out of breath. I'm out of breath just listening to you talk about all your projects.
Well, Fair, why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you in this?
Oh,
Okay, here.
I'm Fair, she, her. You can follow me on Twitter at Fairbear. Saturdays, you can find me over on D&D Jordan Lee's channel, 3 p.m. Eastern for Impistrano 5e, a homebrew D&D campaign. Saturday nights, you'll find at 9 p.m. Eastern, you'll find me on Rolling D20s doing something. I'm not sure yet, because I think by the time this drops, Philly by
We'll
Night
be on our
might have
next
wrapped
game.
up. So
I wonder what it will be.
we don't even know what it's going to be yet. Amir has been keeping his little secrets.
Listen, I'm still in discussion. Like, I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
And then maybe North by Northwest will have dropped by now.
Should
I think
have
so.
stuff out, yeah.
So yeah, North by Northwest, Scum and Villainy. It was probably one of the best games I've ever played because it's just so chaotic. And I loved it. You can see Amir's 1,000-yard stare because he was a storyteller for that game.
So many face palms.
And yeah, I have other projects that I'm working on. Maybe they'll be announced by the time this comes out, maybe not. I know Maria and I have something. Maria Sin and I have something that is coming up. So
Something.
I think it will be. I think that will be aired by then, but it hasn't been
Crossing my
announced
fingers
yet.
and toes.
So.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't know. I'm just gonna manifest a game that stands by Duval for me. So
Same though. But same though.
Wow, that's so weird. I was already
Listen.
thinking about that.
Wow. While
Wow.
you're thinking, Amir, tell the people where they can find you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amir Prince Hamza, also known as Dimples and Dice around the internet. That's where you can find me. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Hell, you can even find me over there at Star Playing Games if you want to pay me to be your GM.
Do it.
Let's
Do it.
see.
Announcement.
What do I have going on? So Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, you can find me on Wayward Revelry. It's a D&D 5e campaign based in Wild Beyond the Witchlight with my own little Shadowfell horror twist to it, because y'all know I like horror games. Let's see what else is going on. We've got Fables that'll be wrapped. North by Northwest, Scum and Villainy / Dark Matter. There's another campaign I'm working on that will probably be announced by now, but I can't say for sure, so I'm not saying right now.
If it is, you can drop it in the everywhere. We'll have links and
Yeah.
things. If things
We'll
have
have
changed, don't worry, y'all will know.
There's a bunch of stuff that I'm working on. I'm going to be writing on a thing. My first writing credit. Yeah. So there's a lot that's going to be happening. And like we've been saying here before, and I don't mean to make this long-winded, but like if you don't see yourself doing things in this spaces, it's amazing how small this is. Like it really, really is. Because when I found myself at Gen Con sitting at a table with B-Dave and Cypher and Quiddy and just having dinner and chatting and realized that was like a normal thing. I'm not amongst people who are bigger or better than me. I'm amongst my peers who want me to be doing the same things. It is the dopest feeling because I'm not special. Like I'm doing cool shit because I'm talented. By all means, I'm saying that. But I'm not special. You could do this too. You just need a chance.
just do what I do and politely invite yourself
And
to
I want
things
to
that
add
is
one more thing.
show
though.
up.
One more thing. Not all of us are working on things just to get paid. I certainly will love to get paid and all of the stuff.
Love
Please pay us
to
if you
get
can.
But if you can't, don't sit around thinking I will never do a thing. Hit me up.
Yes.
Hit me up. If
Yes.
schedule permits, there's a good chance I want to work with you.
If
I
your
feel like
idea
the
is-
same way
Yep.
about a lot of the people at the table. So the worst you
If
can do
your
is
idea is-
ask.
If your idea is dope, I will likely show up.
Worst you can
If
do
your
is
idea
ask.
is
Yeah. Yep.
Also, make sure you follow Rolling These 20s.
Rolling these
Yes,
20s.
follow
Oh,
these
Shit to come.
20s.
We're
Yes.
going to be doing some Radiant Citadel shit.
Oh my
It
God.
may already be out by this time you see this. Theta is going to be running some stuff, so do keep an eye out. It's not just going to be me running games. There's
I
going
think we're
to
gonna
be
have a Friday. We're gonna have an every other Friday game. I think by this point around Rolling D20s.
Yep.
Follow it, y'all. That's free. That's free. Free advice, and
Following
also
is
it's free.
free.
Following
Retweeting
is
is
free.
Yes.
Exactly. 100%. Share the shit of
my
these
computer.
beautiful. Get out of there, cat. Supporting people, these people specifically, but also like other BIPOC people in the space is easy and free. You can be hyped about their shit. Talk about their shit. If you can financially support them, do that. But like also like the more people that see these folks and us and anything that's only gonna help that representation in the space grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until it is also the norm. So I love you all. You all are amazing. You all are fantastic. You're beautiful. and
Love you, Maria. Thank you for inviting us.
Of course. Everyone who's here, you can find me everywhere on the internet at Happy Capster. You can find more of this show. Just tune in the same place next week and you'll see it. So do that.
And by the way, you're still gonna be playing Persona at this point, which is
I
hilarious.
promise, it's really funny. Yeah, if you want to see me streaming video games,
You're
you can do
not
that too.
wrong.
But before we go on to more tangents and more things, because I know we could talk for 1,000 years, everyone who
sure.
is watching, listening, partaking, I hope that your cups are full of something delicious and that you love, and that you're surrounded by people that you love. You have tables that you love, and that people support you in everything that you're doing. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. We love you all. Goodbye.
Say bye,
Bye.
Norden.
Bye.
Bye.